Welcome to Novel Love Hearing. We bring you hundreds of novel audiobooks covering every genre and every kind of story you can imagine. Action? We've got it. Adventure? Absolutely. Horror? Of course. Whether it's the legendary Uchiha massacre or outrageous tales like stealing Naruto's and Sasuke's women, you'll find it here. From epic series like One Piece, Bleach, Fairy Tail, and Hunter x Hunter, to countless other adventures, our library has it all. Love novels but don't have time to read? No worries, just plug in your earbuds, sit back, and let the story take over. Good listening, and happy hearing. Such a ruthless strategy. The incident of the bizarre evil chi spreading among loose cultivators was probably not just due to Thousand Beasts Mountain. The Five Elements sect deliberately let it happen, even secretly adding fuel to the fire. That was the bigger issue. By manipulating the bizarre evil chi event, they turned the lower-tier loose cultivators into fearless death warriors, heedless of how many had perished due to the bizarre evil chi or the ensuing chaos. Those who survived would also be used as cannon fodder to deplete the strength of Thousand Beasts Mountain. They completely disregarded human life. All these methods are chillingly ruthless. Thousand Beasts Mountain isn't foolish, they will surely find a way to recruit those loose cultivators afflicted by the bizarre evil chi. Jiren did not continue, falling silent instead. The Five Elements sect would certainly place restrictions on the loose cultivators, not letting their own dogs turn and bite their master. The most terrifying aspect is the Five Elements sect's forcible conscription of loose cultivators. Those conscripted will then be maliciously infected with the bizarre evil chi by a portion of other loose cultivators, making them more compliant to the Five Elements sect's orders. The merit needed to exchange for an evil warding talisman is incredibly high, and once conscripted, few loose cultivators will survive. Jiren closed his eyes and remained silent. The Five Elements sect's tactics are too cruel. They are essentially forcing the lower-tier loose cultivators down a path to their deaths. Aren't they afraid of the loose cultivators' desperation and revenge? Perhaps they would care. But they care more about whether the Five Elements sect itself can continue to exist. Otherwise, what would the support of the people amount to? Lower-tier loose cultivators wouldn't fight to the death for the Five Elements sect. The despicable means employed by the Five Elements sect allow them to harness the power of these lower-tier loose cultivators to cope with the war against Thousand Beasts Mountain. Very few of the cannon fodder participating in the war will survive. And even if those who do survive scream their lungs out in protest, how much impact could they really have on the Five Elements sect? Maliciously slandering the Five Elements sect and tarnishing its reputation would have predictable consequences. 100 years from now, both sin and evil will be buried in dust, and how many people will remember everything that happened in the Great Wilderness Market? I don't want to be conscripted by the Five Elements sect. Please, Taoist Jia, help me make my stone house look old. Alright. Jiren replied. Thank you for your information, it's very important to me. I'll waive the fee of spirit stones for aging your house. The value of this information is worth far more than 2 spirit stones. Otherwise, I would have inevitably fallen into the hands of the Five Elements sect. No matter how fast one runs with the wind control skill, it would be of no use. Thank you, Taoist Jia. The cultivator's surname Fang thanked him profusely, bowing continuously. Jiren advised. Reduce all signs of life, avoid smoke from cooking fires. The disguise needs long-term maintenance so it's not easily seen through. Avoid all external activities and construct an underground dwelling. Footprints left by any Five Element sect cultivators are also invisible traps, remember not to wipe them away. Jiren then helped the cultivator's surname Fang make his house look old, creating a decrepit appearance, and finally used cobwebs to make it look even more authentic. Dealing with bizarre cultivators is different from handling the Five Elements sect. This requires even more meticulous attention to detail. Whether a disguise can be seen through hinges on the details. Any slight mistake could result in exposure. I was thinking of going to the market to buy elixirs, but the market is probably a no-go now. I'd better hide out for a while. Jiren felt fortunate in his heart, grateful that he had met the cultivator's surname Fang. Otherwise, entering the market rashly would have been like a lamb walking into a tiger's mouth. He decisively returned to his stone house, carefully erasing all traces and lingering scents. He had been staying underground during this period, so there were not many traces left, making them relatively easy to deal with. I must be extra careful these days. I'll stop practicing the wind control skill for now and focus on the turtle breath technique. The bizarre cultivators and those who spread bizarre evil chi are active at night, just staying put should be safe. However, Five Elements sect cultivators are not restricted and could show up to capture people anytime, anywhere. Continuing to use the wind control skill would inevitably create spiritual power fluctuations, which a cultivator with strong sensing abilities might use to lock onto my location. The turtle breath technique allows one to conceal their presence almost completely. Even if someone were close, they would be hard-pressed to detect me. Jia Ren practiced the turtle breath cultivation technique during the day, only sparing scant time for other cultivation. Before 2 days of tranquility had passed, Jia Ren sensed the presence of living beings above his stone house. Several cultivators came knocking, searching everywhere, only to find it apparently uninhabited. This loose cultivator named Jia Ren is probably dead. Next house. One of them said. Jia Ren, using the turtle breath technique, had concealed all signs of his life. Lying under the stone bed, he overheard the conversation of the people above. 5 Elements sect cultivators? They indeed came looking for me. The visitors did not linger long, discovering no one, they left. Jia Ren did not reveal himself. Who knows if those 5 Elements sect cultivators were bluffing and might return later. He decided to continue hiding, waiting for the conflict between the 5 Elements sect and Thousand Beasts Mountain to end. Time moved slowly. Jia Ren maintained the turtle breath technique, not leaking even a hint of his presence. When night fell, Jia Ren took out some spirit rice and was preparing a simple dinner when suddenly there was another disturbance from the stone house above. Could it be that news has leaked? Did the 5 Elements sect figure out I'm hiding in this underground room and are now searching for me? His complexion shifted slightly. He decisively retreated, prepared to follow the tunnel he had previously dug to another stone house. I can't stay here any longer, it's time to leave. Chapter 35, Trouble comes knocking. Where should I go if I abandon my dwelling? Leaving the Great Wilderness Market is not an option. The Great Wilderness is dangerous, with a perilous environment for survival. Find another uninhabited stone house in the night? Taoist Jia. I am Fang Wu. I have a favor to ask of you. Fang Wu? Taoist Fang? Fang Wu was the loose cultivator who had provided him with intelligence and had previously aged the stone house. Jia Ren did not let his guard down. It could not be ruled out that Fang Wu had been coerced by the 5 Elements sect to reveal his intelligence and had came to capture him. What is it, Taoist Fang? Jia Ren did not push the stone bed aside. With the spirit shield and turtle prime spirit armor protecting him, along with the breeze robe and silkworm inner armor as 2 low-quality magical artifacts for defense, an ambush would still ensure his safety. Taoist Jia, your skills in making a home seem old are superb. I just narrowly escaped disaster and have not yet thanked you for your life-saving grace. A very close friend of mine also wishes to make a stone house look old, and I hope Taoist Jia will not be stingy in lending a hand. Jia Ren sighed in relief, pushed the stone bed aside, and looked up. Standing beside the bed were 2 people, Fang Wu and another cultivator with an unfamiliar face. Taoist Jia, I am Qi Yulong, and I have long admired your reputation. Qi Yulong, seeing Jia Ren fully armed, first bowed with clasped hands and showed an obsequious smile on his face. Could you help me age a stone house? I understand the rules. Having said that, he respectfully offered up 2 spirit stones. Jia Ren did not look at the 2 spirit stones, staring coldly at Fang Wu and the unfamiliar loose cultivator. Taoist Fang, it's a bit too much to barge into my dwelling without permission, isn't it? A visit in the middle of the night only increased the risk of exposure. No wonder Jia Ren was angry. Qi Yulong's hand, holding the spirit stones, paused in midair, and a smile on his face gradually stiffened. Taoist Jia, I will be sure to take note the next time. If it weren't a matter of great urgency, I wouldn't have imposed upon you. Fang Wu said, chuckling awkwardly, trying to ease the atmosphere. I understand your urgent feelings. The night is too dangerous, so please, both of you return home. Jia Ren replied. Hey, it's fine if you don't want to help. But if I'm captured by the 5 Elements sect, I don't mind disclosing Taoist Jia's whereabouts. Qi Yulong said, unhappy with Jia Ren's attitude, his tone containing a hint of threat. If the situation wasn't resolved properly, a fierce battle would be unavoidable. A battle would attract the cultivators of the 5 Elements sect, and he would also have trouble escaping. An unwarranted disaster. Jia Ren's expression turned grim as he considered ways to break the deadlock. Taoist Qi, what nonsense are you spouting? Apologize to Taoist Jia at once. Fang Wu interjected. Taoist Qi is joking, please don't take it to heart, Taoist Jia. It's better for everyone to make money in a friendly atmosphere. The 2 played good cop and bad cop. Qi Yulong forced a smile and insincerely apologized. Taoist Jia, I'm straightforward to a fault, please don't mind it. Jia Ren was clear-headed, he knew refusing to help could create enmity. 5 spirit stones. Jia Ren stated. You should understand the danger of this matter. If not for Taoist Fang's sake, no amount of spirit stones would persuade me to do it. Set the time for tomorrow. I won't take action at night. Despite disliking the 2, Jia Ren didn't want to escalate the situation. 5 spirit stones might make Qi Yulong back down, which would be ideal. Qi Yulong, worried Jia Ren might change his mind, quickly handed over the spirit stones. Taoist Jia, for any offenses, please forgive me. There are 7 spirit stones here, consider the extra 2 as an apology. Qi Yulong still needed to rely on Jia Ren to age the stone house, which concerned his own safety. He did not want any trouble and certainly didn't want to end up in a lose-lose situation with Jia Ren. It was better to mend the relationship. Jia Ren accepted the spirit stones, and the matter was settled. After the two left, Jia Ren hesitated for a moment but chose not to leave. Another stone house not far away was not necessarily safe. If the Five Elements sect found Qi Yulong, it would also implicate him. Rashly changing residences might lead him right into the Five Elements sect's crosshairs. Of two evils, choose the lesser. The troubles he currently faced were still within controllable limits. The next day, both of them waited early, fearing that Jia Ren might make a run for it. Lead the way. Jia Ren said. Qi Yulong's residence was no more than 3 miles away, and it didn't take long to reach it. Fang Wu and Qi Yulong were responsible for keeping watch, while Jia Ren swiftly aged the stone house. Even though he didn't like Qi Yulong, he still did his job conscientiously. While busy, he took the opportunity to ask Qi Yulong for more information. He was happy to get some free intel. The Five Elements sect sent out loose cultivators to war, and those who returned alive. Less than 1/10 survived. Qi Yulong explained. The bizarre evil Qi still played a role. The cultivators and spirit beasts of Thousand Beasts Mountain were infected, and it had a significant impact. For the time being, the Five Elements sect has the upper hand. Qi Yulong's intelligence was more detailed than Fang Wu's. It seemed he had a special channel for information. Of course, without real abilities, one would just be among the first wave sent to die as cannon fodder. What about the inner city? Jia Ren asked. The bizarre evil Qi wreaked havoc, mainly affecting the outer city district, with little impact on the inner city. The cultivators living in the inner city either had unique skills or were in the late stage Qi refining. Whether in terms of status or influence, they were far beyond those in the outer city. Even if someone were infected by the bizarre evil Qi, buying an evil warding talisman wouldn't be a problem. Mentioning the inner city, Qi Yulong felt a wave of frustration. The inner city? Their lives are far more comfortable than ours. The inner city cultivators have conscripted those with cultivation skills, serving as support personnel. The participation of ordinary loose cultivators in the war depends on personal volition, and the rewards are much higher than in the outer city district, enticing many with profit. The Five Elements sect hadn't gone completely mad yet. There were numerous late-stage Qi refining loose cultivators in the inner city, and if they rebelled, the Five Elements sect would face troubles both internally and externally. Safety in the inner city also hinged on a key factor. Many relatives of Five Elements sect disciples lived there. Forcibly conscripting them would cause their own disciples to become disheartened and disloyal. As for the outer city, it's not their lives being lost, so they wouldn't worry their heads over it. Jia Ren felt envious upon hearing this. He had been concerned about the safety of Yang Shengwu's family, but now he could rest easy. They're living better lives than his own. Alas, it's a pity he hadn't gone to the inner city. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to live in constant fear every day. Both of them shared similar thoughts and exchanged silent glances. Jia Ren finished the job at top speed, making some final adjustments, all in less than half an hour. Taoist Qi, making an old stone house is important, but maintaining it is even more so. Jia Ren gave a brief reminder to prevent Qi Yulong from courting death. He didn't want to lend a hand once and then be responsible for after-sales service. Thank you, Taoist Jia. The two bade farewell with clasped hands, and Jia Ren quickly returned to his dwelling with Fang Wu. They encountered no danger along the way, and Jia Ren felt a great sense of relief. Taoist Jia, I'm especially grateful for today, said Fang Wu. I have something to discuss, though I'm not sure whether it's appropriate to mention it. Jia Ren turned and glanced at Fang Wu, noticing the flicker in his eyes. If you have something to say, please speak. For some reason, Jia Ren felt trouble might be brewing. I have a mutually beneficial business proposition, said Fang Wu. Many Taoists have a need to age stone houses, and with Taoist Jia's skills, it wouldn't be difficult to make a large amount of spirit stones. It wasn't until this moment that Fang Wu revealed his crafty nature. If there were no benefits to be had, who would be so eager to help others? Without needing to guess, Jia Ren knew that Fang Wu had profited from making introductions. Having tasted the sweetness, he had no intention of stopping. Taoist Jia, it's not easy for a loose cultivator to earn spirit stones, and this is a great opportunity, Fang Wu said, leaning in and speaking mysteriously. Taoist Jia, I know a way. For just 200 spirit stones, I can get you into the inner city. Jia Ren felt a headache brewing. He didn't want to risk his life to earn spirit stones. Spirit stones are important, but life is even more so. Enter the inner city? Even if there truly were a way, Jia Ren wouldn't consider it. It meant putting his life entirely in someone else's hands. Besides, did he truly believe the inner city was paradise? Chapter 36, Master runs away. Taoist Fang, allow me to consider for a few days before I give you a reply. Jia Ren was skillfully using delaying tactics to avoid being entangled by Fang Wu. He had no desire to help others make stone houses look old, as it was laborious and fraught with considerable danger. The trouble that had come to his door earlier was an act of desperation he couldn't have avoided. Continue cooperating in making stone houses look old? Earning spirit stones was important, but safety was paramount. He naturally wouldn't risk his life just to earn spirit stones. After sending Fang Wu away, Jia Ren entered the tunnel through the stone house and arrived at the abandoned stone dwelling. He sealed the tunnel and erased any traces to prevent his whereabouts from being exposed. If Fang Wu came looking again, he would have a hard time finding the secret chamber underground and would likely assume that Jia Ren had fled. However, Jia Ren didn't think this would guarantee his safety. A crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. He needed to prepare several other places to shelter himself. That way, he would have an escape route if he ever needed to flee. Should I look for another stone house, or continue to dig through the tunnel? Keep digging down. Underground was always safer than above the ground, reducing the risk of exposure. Corner worm, start working. Jia Ren directed the corner worm to dig toward the south. Since he was already on the edge of the northern district, continuing to dig northward might take him out of the Great Wilderness Market. Ever since he had encountered the bizarre Mist Maiden at Lake of Smoky Waves, he had lost all interest in leaving the Great Wilderness Market. As long as he stayed in the Great Wilderness Market, wherever he dug to depended entirely on the performance of the corner worm. He didn't even know where the end point was, let alone the people who might want to catch him. Jia Ren left the tunnel digging to the corner worm and returned to the insect breeding room. There, he took out the corner worm eggs and used the spirit contract mark to incubate them. After several days of exterminating pests on Grand Wilderness Mountain, he had obtained far more than just 140-odd corner worm eggs. To be precise, the number was in the thousands, most of which were sealed and saved for future use. Each corner worm didn't consume much spiritual liquid. Maintaining more than 100 of them was still affordable with the spiritual liquid and spirit rice he had. If he were to hatch thousands of corner worms all at once, aside from the question of whether he could manage them, the daily consumption of resources would be no small sum. I can't afford to raise them. To accelerate the digging progress, he could only increase the size of his corner worm operation. Let's start with 500. He took out 500 corner worm eggs and soaked them in specially prepared spiritual liquid. Then, one by one, he applied the spirit contract marks. After all the work was done, Jia Ren was thoroughly tired, his spirit was particularly exhausted. He lay down in the cultivation room and fell into a deep sleep. Unaware of how many hours he had slept, when he awoke, Jia Ren, as usual, checked on the corner worms. Many of the eggs had hatched into tiny larvae, which would be ready for use in a few days. The speed of the tunnel excavation could then be increased several times over. How are the exotic black mosquitoes doing? Jia Ren looked toward the exotic black mosquitoes. 3 of them appeared listless, as if on the brink of death. What's happening? They were soaked in spiritual liquid daily. Logically, they shouldn't be this weak. Was there another condition required for breeding exotic black mosquitoes? The insect control scripture Jia Ren had acquired was an incomplete version. It contained mostly superficial parts and did not include a section on exotic black mosquitoes. Spiritual liquid might be suitable for breeding corner worms and poison thorn caterpillars, but that didn't mean it was right for exotic black mosquitoes. Perhaps they required a special method of cultivation. Hungry. Using the insect control technique, Jia Ren felt the emotional state of the exotic black mosquitoes for the first time. This was an unprecedented event. Usually, only targets controlled by the insect control technique's spirit contract mark could convey intense emotions. Were they delirious from hunger? No wonder they looked close to death. What should exotic black mosquitoes eat? Mosquitoes like to suck blood. Exotic black mosquitoes had not strayed from their species traits, so it seemed they mainly needed blood. What kind of blood? Either human blood or demon beast blood would do. The former was mainly from cultivators. Drain blood from a cultivator? That would likely lead to a life or death struggle, too dangerous to consider for now. The latter could be obtained by buying monster beast meat from butchers, who would often give extra demon beast blood with large purchases. Demon beast blood was mostly inexpensive. Except for a few precious types used for making talisman ink and artifact refining, most of it was not particularly valuable. With the 5 elements sect at war with Thousand Beasts Mountain, the outer city market had closed. He wanted to buy blood but couldn't. Jia Ren had no demon beast blood on hand. After much deliberation, only one living creature was available: himself. Slash my wrist and offer blood? He avoided needles whenever he could. When had he ever summoned the courage to slash his wrist? I almost forgot, corner worms contain demonic blood as well. For the sake of the exotic black mosquitoes, I can only sacrifice you all. Having just hatched 500 corner worms, he could afford the extravagance. Jiren controlled several corner worms to queue up in front of the exotic black mosquitoes and issued the feeding command. The feeding mouth parts of the exotic black mosquitoes pierced the corner worms, sucking the limited green blood within. An intense feeling of distaste was conveyed. Blood, too, has its hierarchies. Take cultivators, for instance. Their blood contains pure spiritual power. The stronger the individual, the more potent their spiritual power. The same applies to magical beasts and demonic insects. Corner worms are unranked spirit insects. The quality of their blood was imaginable. Still picky eaters? Then let them wait for death. The exotic black mosquitoes were starved. Something was better than nothing. After consuming all the blood of 12 corner worms, the exotic black mosquitoes barely recovered their spirits. After a bit of soothing, they continued to hang on to life, soaking in the spiritual liquid. Hopefully, a solution could be found in the future. Relying on corner worms was not a sustainable answer. I'll take it one step at a time. I can't risk everything for just 3 mosquitoes. Jiren finished his work and was about to rest when a sense of premonition struck. The mosquitoes he had left at his old dwelling sent him a warning. Someone had come to his previous abode. Who could it be? Jiren left the tunnel, concealed his aura with the turtle breath technique, and peered through the crevices of the stone house toward the outside. Cultivators possess remarkable eyesight and could vaguely discern 2 blurry figures dozens of yards away. As expected, trouble had come knocking again. Good thing I had left. The 2 figures entered the stone house. After searching for the time it takes to brew a cup of tea, they couldn't find Jiren. Where did Jiren go? My business of making stone houses look old. Fang Wu had never expected Jiren to flee. Just helping make stone houses look old, was it worth all this? Shendu, I'm truly sorry for making you come all this way for nothing. Fang Wu apologized non-stop to the loose cultivator he had brought with him. When he came, he was full of confidence, yet the result differed greatly from his speculations. Fang Wu had long known that Jiren was a cautious cultivator, always prioritizing stability in his actions. He never imagined Jiren wouldn't dare to take even the slightest risk. Spirit stones that could be earned so easily were right in front of him, yet he ignored them. He must not lack spirit stones. But I do. The profitable opportunity I had found has flown away on wings. Taoist Fang, this place is quite good. Since the original owner has left, I'll take the liberty of staying here. The spirit stone arrangement will be as before. Also, I have another proposal. The master of aging houses has left. You're lacking a cooperating Taoist for this work. How about me? Fang Wu furrowed his brows, scrutinizing the loose cultivator who sought to collaborate. Artificially aging stone houses might look easy, but it's actually difficult. Any slight mistake, and we could fall into the hands of the 5 Elements sect. If we ruin our reputation, not only can we forget about continuing our business, but we'd also be in danger. The cultivator surnamed Shen laughed heartily, his face full of confidence. I haven't yet told you, Taoist Fang, about my main line of work for earning money. I specialize in forgery, be it magic artifacts or rare materials, making them indistinguishable from the genuine articles. Artificially aging stone houses might be somewhat unfamiliar to me, but Taoist Fang, if you don't mind, give me some time to prove my ability. I am confident I can do it. Fang Wu's extinguished hopes were rekindled. Even after losing Jiren, he could still find a new partner. If the business of artificially aging stone houses continued, he could gather the loose cultivators from the outer city in the northern district. His plans for an underground trading meet could also proceed. Artificially aging stone houses was a money-making business, but the real goose laying golden eggs was the underground trading meet. Chapter 37, Cohabitation in one house. No one disturbed him, and Jiren returned to his previous life. By day, he focused on the turtle breath technique, and only in the still of the night would he sit and cultivate. His cultivation time shortened, and without elixirs to aid his cultivation, his progress inevitably plummeted. Jiren was not annoyed. Even if his cultivation speed was slow, it was much better than before. Assisted by spirit rice, his cultivation progress could still increase a bit every 3 days, slow yet steady. In the past, an unlimited supply of spirit rice was unimaginable. Busy with making a living every day, how could he have much time to cultivate? Contentment brings long-lasting happiness. 3 days flew by in the blink of an eye. 500 corner worm eggs entered their growth phase, growing to the size of a fingernail with blackening shells. Jiren did not skimp on turning 6 caddies of spirit rice into spiritual liquid to aid the corner worm's growth. 6 caddies of spirit rice a day, I can't afford to raise them. They can't just eat without working. It's time for them to go to work. The corner worms, now in their growth phase, possessed impressive digging abilities. Jiren didn't need to worry about dealing with the excavated soil, the worms were capable of digesting it. Otherwise, the amount of soil they dug out daily could pile up into a small mountain. Over 100 mature corner worms and 500 growing ones digging at full force made for astonishing efficiency. Even 10 cultivators specializing in earth element spells working tirelessly couldn't match the efficiency of the 600+ corner worms. Corner worms also had an advantage: they could dig anytime, anywhere, without worrying about spiritual power fluctuations drawing the attention of the 5 elements sect, unlike cultivators. The tunnel plan can proceed smoothly. I need to prepare 3 escape routes, Jiren thought. They'll be classified by distance into short, medium, and long routes for various emergencies. The short distance route, for less dangerous situations, will be for changing stone house dwellings. The long distance tunnels need to be extensive enough to deal with captures by the 5 elements sect. Lastly, an emergency escape route leading outside the Great Wilderness Market. Hopefully, it will never be needed. Jiren became an absentee manager, occasionally guiding the corner worms to ensure their digging did not veer off the expected route. As night fell, a warning came from the mosquitoes in the deserted stone house. Is it the 5 elements sect again? Every so often, the 5 elements sect would send people to hunt cultivators. Sometimes once a day, sometimes several times a day. Jiren had grown accustomed to it. The deserted stone house showed no signs of life, and in his turtle breath state, the 5 elements sect cultivators could not find him. Days went by without incident. No movement came from above for a long time, and no one entered the abandoned stone house. Have they left? He sent out corner worms to confirm there was no danger before he boldly left the tunnel. What's this? An aged stone house? Jiren peered through the crevices of the stone house and saw something 3 jong away that left him with a peculiar expression. It wasn't 5 element sect cultivators. Instead, someone was aging a stone house. If you don't do the business, someone else naturally will. Fang Wu hadn't given up on the aged stone house business. After Master Jia ran off, he found a new partner. Their first attempt at aging a stone house was located nearby. As always, Fang Wu was responsible for keeping watch, while a short, plump cultivator with the surname Shen took over Jiren's work of aging the stone house. Taoist Shen, you truly are a master of forgery. How does he compare to the previous master of aging houses? Fang Wu smiled without answering. The answer was obvious. Tomorrow, I'll introduce a client to move in. Make sure nothing goes wrong. Fang Wu mentioned a few points, all of which were warnings Jiren had previously given, pointing out mistakes and how to fix them. The fee for aging a stone house is 5 spirit stones. I take 3, and you take 2. Any objections, Taoist? Let's do as Taoist Fang suggests. Jiren listened for a bit, then left, uninterested. A false alarm. Back to cultivation. Aging stone houses might affect the safety of the abandoned one. I'd better prepare in advance. Jiren returned to the underground chamber and looked at the 3 tunnels leading in different directions. The nearest tunnel had been dug 100 jong out, its exit right beneath a collapsed stone house. The second and third tunnels were not yet complete. Underneath the collapsed stone house, he dispatched the corner worms to start digging a new underground chamber. Jiren's speculation proved correct. As he continued his cultivation on the second night, he was disturbed by voices talking above. Taoist Wang, what do you think of this place? Not bad. I'll have to rely on Taoist Fang. A delicate female voice rang out, revealing the new resident of the abandoned stone house to be a female cultivator. We're all fellow Taoists, it's only right to help each other. Their conversation lasted for a moment, then their voices faded away. The deserted stone house had caught someone's attention and would soon become a dwelling for a loose cultivator. I can't expose myself. I must block the entrance to the underground chamber to prevent anyone from discovering me and the tunnel. Soil from other places was brought in his storage bag, and the corner worms were tasked with transporting it. Their efficiency was quite high. In less than an hour, they had filled in the chamber beneath the stone bed. This humble one has troubled Master Shen for his help. Rest assured, Taoist. If you don't expose yourself, you are safe. The price for aging a stone house is always 5 spirit stones, but in such times, safety is priceless. You're straightforward, Taoist. I almost forgot to remind you, in a few days, I will organize a trade meeting. Make sure you don't forget to attend. Is it safe? Don't worry. If 5 elements sect cultivators weren't covertly supporting it, I wouldn't dare to hold a trade meeting. The timing of its opening is absolutely safe. The voices came to an abrupt halt. Jiren, who had been preparing to leave, stopped in his tracks and listened intently, focusing on the details about the trade meeting. A trade meeting among loose cultivators? And with the support of 5 Elements sect cultivators behind it? The 5 Elements sect isn't a monolith, not everyone places the greater good above all else. Fleeing loose cultivators still have value to be exploited, and surely some 5 Elements sect cultivators would entertain corrupt thoughts. With the outer city market closed, loose cultivators who want to purchase cultivation resources have nowhere to turn. Selling to them now could be massively profitable, fetching prices several times higher. With enough profit at stake, some would naturally take the risk. If the trade meeting can guarantee safety, wouldn't it be possible to purchase the demon beast blood needed for the exotic black mosquito, as well as cultivation elixirs? Jiren's heart stirred uncontrollably, but in the end, he prudently decided to leave. It can't be ruled out as a trap. Or perhaps, it's a fishing scheme by the 5 Elements sect. When the time is ripe, they'll swoop in for the catch. More information is needed. Rustling sounds came from the stone bed. The female cultivator had started to dig. An underground chamber was standard for evading capture by the 5 Elements sect. Aging stone houses was a deceptive tactic. The underground chamber was the true sanctuary. The new female cultivator followed local customs and started creating her own underground chamber. Compared to the astounding digging speed of the corner worms, and without daring to use spells, she relied solely on manual labor, resulting in low efficiency. It was only by the 3rd day that she barely finished. The underground chamber was only 10 feet deep, falling short of the 30-foot safety standard. After hesitating for a moment, Jiren sent out corner worms to dig a small living space below hers. They both now had underground dwellings, separated vertically by less than 10 feet. When cultivating, he would return to his other residence, but when focusing on the turtle breath technique, he would come over to listen for information. His proficiency level in the turtle breath technique reached master level, beginning to reveal its wondrous effects. It could not only conceal his breath, heartbeat, and footstep sounds, but he could also enter the turtle breath state, similar to suspended animation. Jiren continued to hide underground, ensuring his safety. The downside was clear: he was cut off from news. He had no idea when the conflict between the 5 Elements sect and Thousand Beasts Mountain would end. He couldn't stay hidden underground indefinitely. He needed channels and sources for gathering information. The trade meeting starts at the 3rd quarter of the hour of the dog tomorrow. Don't forget, Taoist. Jiren's efforts were not in vain. On the 2nd day, he overheard this important information. He was, however, uncertain. To go, or not to go? In the end, Jiren chose to prioritize stability. With the situation unclear, he decided to use the female cultivator as a test first. If she could return safely, the trade meeting posed no problems. If his resources became scarce later on, it wouldn't be too late to attend the trade meeting then. Chapter 38, Enemies Meet. While cultivating the turtle breath technique, Jiren quietly eavesdropped to gather intelligence. The situation far exceeded his expectations. The trade meeting had gone smoothly, and the female cultivator had returned safely. The next trade meeting was set for 7 days later. Jiren listened for 2 days, his expression gradually turning strange. I didn't expect that female cultivator to still be engaged in such clandestine affairs. Harsh living conditions clearly can't quell people's primitive desires. Listening to the extremely suppressed sounds of a man and a woman coming from the underground chamber next door, Jiren felt displeased. It's time to leave. Half an hour later, the commotion ceased. Fellow Taoist, can we settle with spirit rice? Just 3 caddies will do. You wish. I don't have any rice left. I barely managed to buy a few caddies of spirit rice at the trade meeting. I'm almost being forced to sell my spirit turtle for spirit rice. The conversation ended, and silence returned. A spirit turtle for spirit rice? But I have spirit rice. Jiren had been searching for turtle demon beasts for who knew how long and had found none. Now, eavesdropping, he had unexpectedly stumbled upon a lead. He had longed for turtle spirit ointment for ages. Finally, there was news of a turtle demon, and he couldn't let this chance slip by. Ask for information and conduct a trade door-to-door? Too risky. Moreover, it would expose his hidden location. Attending the trade fair was by far the better option. Simply attending the trade fair wasn't a huge problem, but Jiren still needed to prepare in advance and plan an escape route. If the 5 Elements sect appeared and blocked the underground trade meeting, they would undoubtedly die without a burial place. What to do? Of course, dig a tunnel. A tunnel connecting to the underground trade fair would provide a secret escape route. If the 5 Elements sect sealed off the underground trade fair, he could still use the tunnel to escape safely. Jia Ren had previously aged Fang Wu's stone house to make it look inconspicuous and knew its location. It was approximately a mile from his own stone house. With more than 600 corner worms working at full capacity, digging a passage large enough for him in 5 days would be no problem. Jia Ren dispatched 100 corner worms to burrow continuously, correcting their direction along the way. After 1 day, they finally drilled a tiny hole into the underground space beneath Fang Wu's residence. What remained was the slow process of expansion. More than 600 corner worms followed the correct trajectory, constantly widening the passage. In just 3 days, it was nearly complete. The final 10 feet of earth were left as a barrier to conceal the tunnel. Through the holes left by the corner worms, Jia Ren could see everything happening at the underground trade fair. Even without participating in the trade fair, I can still come here to gather intelligence. Not bad. Compared to eavesdropping on the female cultivator, the underground trade fair suited Jia Ren's purposes much better. With an escape route secured, the risk is significantly reduced. 2 days passed in a flash. Jia Ren approached the underground trade fair to investigate the situation. Compared to the quietness of the previous 2 days, the underground trade fair was now brightly lit. More than a dozen cultivators were already present, seated around a huge stone table. Familiar loose cultivators chatted happily amongst themselves, thoroughly enjoying the atmosphere. I can attend the underground trade fair. Jia Ren changed into black nightcloth, pulled a hood over his head, and applied a simple disguise to his face. After confirming there was no danger, he hurried to the underground exchange. Nervous-looking loose cultivators emerged one by one from the dilapidated stone house. Everyone was wary of each other, unwilling to speak much. Jia Ren maintained his distance from the other cultivators, ensuring no one was behind him, and was the last to enter the stone house. Fang Wu's residence was the location of the trade fair. The stone house served as a cover, the underground chamber was the actual venue. He descended a winding stone staircase. The narrow passage suddenly opened into an extremely spacious underground area. What he had glimpsed through the wormhole was far less shocking than seeing it in person. Fang Wu, by some unknown means, had hollowed out an underground space dozens of times larger than the stone house above. Over 100 loose cultivators had gathered inside, yet it didn't feel crowded. Most of the loose cultivators attending the trade fair showed their true faces, though some, as cautious as Jia Ren, were in disguise. His nightcloth attire didn't particularly stand out. Taoist Shen's techniques for making places look authentically old are top-notch. Several Five Elements sect cultivators have been here a few times without any incidents. The anxiety we felt has finally been put to rest. Those 5 spirit stones were well spent. In the future, I'll recommend a few more Taoist friends to seek refuge in the northern district and will request Taoist Shen's assistance. The 5 Elements sect's searches were unpredictable, but the aging work done on the stone houses by the loose cultivator surnamed Shen had clearly stood the test. Having endured the initial nerve-wracking period, he now handled such matters with composure. A brilliant smile appeared on the face of this Shen surnamed loose cultivator as he familiarly greeted the others. Is everyone here? Fang Wu scanned the assembled loose cultivators, counting them, his expression growing puzzled. It seems there's one extra Taoist friend today. The invited individuals were all loose cultivators who specialized in aging stone houses, so the number was known precisely. It was normal for a few to be missing, but an extra person appearing without reason was cause for alarm. Fang Wu's gaze swept over the crowd, finally settling on Jia Ren. He sensed an incredibly familiar aura. Taoist Jia? He asked, his tone tentative, with a hint of surprise. To think Taoist Fang would still recognize me. Jia Ren said with a dry laugh as numerous gazes turned towards him. His plan to attend the trade fair discreetly, buy the turtle demon, and leave immediately had been foiled. Left with no choice, he removed the hood concealing his face to show his sincerity. The former master of aging stone houses? I've long admired your reputation. The Shen surnamed cultivator said, being the first to approach, his smile radiant. His attitude towards Jia Ren was exceptionally warm. I feel quite ashamed to be occupying your former residence, Taoist. Without Master Jia's guidance, I wouldn't have achieved what I have. He was inwardly relieved that Jia Ren had left, otherwise, the lucrative business of aging stone houses wouldn't have fallen into his lap. And it was indeed a big business. In just over 10 days, he had earned 200 spirit stones. Compared to setting up a stall and selling fakes, this had no risk of being exposed as fraud, and the profits were higher. Taoist Shen, you're too kind. Your own reputation is as renowned as thunder to the ear. Jia Ren replied with standard business flattery. Fang Wu's expression was complicated. With a hint of condescension, he mocked. Taoist Jia, do you regret leaving? You missed out on a great fortune in spirit stones. His demeanor was like that of someone who had been dumped and was now deliberately flaunting their success upon seeing their ex. It wasn't that he wanted the other person to come back, but simply to prove that he had been right all along. Once, you paid me little heed. Now, I am beyond your reach. Taoist Fang is truly formidable to have built such a vast enterprise. Congratulations. Jia Ren said, ignoring Fang Wu's sarcasm and offering a sincere blessing. A few kind words cost nothing, and as the saying goes, one doesn't hit a smiling face. Fang Wu didn't make things difficult for Jia Ren. Regardless of anything else, Jia Ren had helped him through his most difficult times, a considerable favor. There was no need to turn away business at the underground trade fair. Taoist C, do you know Taoist Jia? Among the 100 or so loose cultivators gathered, a man with burn scars on his face was staring intently at Jia Ren, which caught Fang Wu's attention. Jia Ren forced himself to remain calm, masking the murderous intent in his heart with a look of surprise. Fellow Taoist, do you know me? Si Mingkong stared at Jia Ren, his face etched with disbelief. He hadn't expected to encounter Jia Ren in the northern district. The scars on his face throbbed faintly, reminding him not to forget his hatred. Jia Ren didn't recognize me? The two had only met once. When Si Mingkong had been discovered tailing him, Jia Ren had managed to escape promptly. When Si Mingkong had laid an ambush at the stone house, Jia Ren hadn't entered but had moved out immediately, likely having discovered some flaw in the setup that hadn't been properly addressed. So, from start to finish, Jia Ren had no idea it was I who wanted to kill him. A weight lifted from Si Mingkong's heart. Previously, he hadn't paid Jia Ren much mind. A cultivator at the third level of chi refinement wouldn't have posed a significant threat. He never imagined that in little over a month, Jia Ren would have reached the 5th layer of chi refining, a cultivation level now even higher than his own. Si Mingkong forced a calm expression, squeezing out a smile. I've had the fortune of meeting Taoist Jia a few times. He was always selling bait in the West District Market, his reputation is quite well known. Taoist Jia certainly wouldn't remember an insignificant person like myself. He said, then gave a self-deprecating laugh. Jia Ren offered a polite smile, adopting the air of someone not well acquainted. How can I eliminate Si Mingkong discreetly, without anyone knowing? He pondered internally. Chapter 39, finally obtaining the spirit turtle. Fellow Taoists who are new to the trade fair, let me give a brief introduction. All Taoist friends are free to exchange and trade, and the treasured items most desired by many will go to the highest bidder. The main purpose of the trade fair is to exchange resources and meet each other's needs. Shops in the market of the outer city are closed, and the underground trade fair is the only channel through which loose cultivators can obtain resources. After the exchange is over, Taoist friends are free to trade, and I will also sell precious resources that have flowed out of the inner city. I'll start. The white-haired elderly Taoist seated to the left of Fang Wu was the first to speak, taking out 3 peculiar yellow talisman papers. 3 demon spotting talismans, is anyone interested? Demon spotting talismans? Jia Ren mused. Cultivators heading to the great wilderness to hunt magical beasts often bought a few demon spotting talismans to find traces of their prey. The price was quite fair, 1 spirit stone for each demon spotting talisman. Jia Ren himself had bought a few when he followed Yang Shengwu to hunt beasts. The talisman's sensing range wasn't large, at most 2 li, and its duration was limited. Now, what's the use of buying such a useless demon spotting talisman? Could it perhaps sense the arrival of 5 elements sect cultivators? Elder Wu, don't disgrace yourself with demon spotting talismans. You didn't sell any last time, you haven't learned your lesson. Someone jeered. A talisman master who only makes the demon spotting talisman. If you had learned to make evil warding talismans, you would have gone to the inner city long ago. Upon hearing this, the white-haired Taoist, Elder Wu, looked ashamed. Alas. He sighed. I only obtained half a damaged scroll, which only records the demon spotting talisman technique. Elder Wu had once made a good amount of spirit stones from his demon spotting talismans, living quite a comfortable life. But who could have expected the onset of the eerie mist, swiftly followed by the war between the 5 Elements sect and Thousand Beasts Mountain? Unable to sell his demon spotting talismans, his life became increasingly difficult. Jia Ren took a second glance at Elder Wu, surprised to encounter a talisman maker among the loose cultivators of the outer city. It's a pity he only mastered the demon spotting talisman. Comparatively, that technique is easier to acquire. Jia Ren didn't rush to speak. Elder Wu isn't at his wit's end yet, he certainly wouldn't be willing to sell his demon spotting talisman technique. Even if he were, Jia Ren couldn't afford the price. The demon spotting talismans unsurprisingly failed to sell. The next Taoist stepped up, offering to sell magic artifacts. Most were untraceable low-quality magical artifacts, numerous in quantity, likely acquired through plunder. Few loose cultivators showed interest, and no one inquired further. One after another, cultivators took their turn, presenting their stockpiled elixirs and treasures for sale or exchange. 4 fragmented spirits for 1 jin of spirit rice. A buyer called out hopefully, scanning the crowd. Receiving no response, he sat down dejectedly. Ditong rice shop used to sell 1 jin of spirit rice for 4 fragmented spirits, but many loose cultivators had found this too expensive and hadn't bought any. Now, the rice shop had long since closed, and the loose cultivators didn't have much grain left. They were all eating into their reserves. Without spirit rice, how can one fill their stomach? Monster beast meat? Unfortunately, that's even more expensive. With no grain at hand, anxiety set in. Low-level loose cultivators were far from reaching the fasting realm. After the two sects began their war, spirit rice became a strategic resource and had completely run out for purchase. This was one of the 5 sect's tactics. No matter how well you hide, without fasting pills and spirit rice, how long can you hold out? The loose cultivators weren't fools. They had long understood the 5 sect's intentions and their own future predicament. Even those who had a decent supply of grain wouldn't consider selling. It was easy to sell but incredibly difficult to buy back. 4 fragmented spirits for 1 jin of spirit rice was already not cheap, and the price was only expected to increase. Selling 1 spirit turtle, only exchanging for spirit rice. A gaunt, middle-aged man took out a wash basin-sized spirit turtle from his spirit beast bag. The spirit turtle was his spirit beast. Under his control, it retracted its head and limbs into its shell, lying motionless on the stone table. Jia Ren watched him. Is this the man who was looking for that female cultivator with the surname Wang for dual cultivation? I finally found the man himself. The highest bidder gets it. The gaunt middle-aged man announced, his voice weak. He had no spirit rice left and had been starving, missing 3 meals a day. He hadn't bought much when Datong rice shops sold rice at high prices, reluctant to overspend. He had assumed that the situation would improve over time and rice prices would fall, so why waste spirit stones unnecessarily? This was the typical mindset of a loose cultivator. Spirit stones were hard to earn, so they saved whenever possible. But tranquility never came. Instead, war erupted between the 5 sect and Thousand Beasts Mountain. Now, it wasn't just about high-priced spirit rice. Acquiring any at all was difficult. He had considered eating his spirit turtle, but with the trade fair only a few days away, he had endured the hunger. Eat my spirit beast? There isn't much meat on a turtle. It would be better to exchange the spirit turtle for spirit rice. That would last longer. Many cultivators looked on. A spirit turtle? And it's alive? Monster beast meat was a rare and valuable commodity, and the sight of the spirit turtle stirred the hearts of the loose cultivators. The spirit turtle weighed about 30-odd jin. After removing the shell and inedible parts, yielding 20 jin of meat would be a good outcome. Taoist friend, would you consider selling it for spirit stones? Someone asked. The gaunt middle-aged man didn't even glance at the questioner, too listless to respond. 50 jin of spirit rice. 50 jin of spirit rice was worth far less than a 30-odd jin spirit turtle, as monster beast meat was more valuable than spirit rice. The spirit turtle was a low-grade magical beast, and its shell was a material for crafting low-quality defense artifacts, which alone could sell for at least 10 spirit stones. But times had changed. With everyone's food reserves dwindling, only relatively wealthy individuals could offer 50 jin of spirit rice for the spirit turtle. 55 jin of spirit rice. 50 jin of spirit rice didn't deter everyone. Some loose cultivators still had some means. 58 jin of green bud rice. 30 jin of white corn. White corn was of higher quality than green bud rice. Its normal price was 2 fragmented spirit stones per jin, making 30 jin of white corn equivalent to 60 jin of green bud rice. The bids increased by smaller margins after that. Loose cultivators didn't have large stockpiles. Bidding so much spirit rice would likely empty their larders. One couldn't just give up eating spirit rice entirely for a taste of turtle meat, could they? 63 jin of spirit rice. Seeing fewer and fewer cultivators raising their bids, Jia Ren decided to intervene. Only one competitor remained. Both he and Jia Ren were restrained, each increasing the bid by only 1 jin of spirit rice at a time, neither wanting to be the sucker who overpaid. In the end, Jia Ren secured it with a bid of 70 jin of spirit rice, and there were no more challengers. Taoist Jia, you have a considerable fortune. The gaunt middle-aged man smiled as he handed over the spirit turtle, looking at Jia Ren with anticipation. Jia Ren didn't have enough loose spirit rice, so he had to take out a rice bag that held 100 jin, from which he poured out 70 jin of spirit rice and gave it to the man. With one hand, he gave the spirit rice, and with the other, he received the spirit turtle. Taoist Jia, would you be willing to sell the remaining 30 jin of spirit rice? The cultivators who had been bidding were few, mostly those with ample spirit rice reserves. Many more loose cultivators had little spirit rice and were desperately seeking to buy some. I can't sell it. Jia Ren thought. 70 jin of spirit rice is already enough to make people envious. If I dare to sell more spirit rice openly, wouldn't that imply I have an even larger stash? Apologies. Jia Ren said. I, Jia, have limited spirit rice. If it weren't for my urgent need for this spirit turtle, I wouldn't have parted with any spirit rice. However, which of you Taoist friends is willing to sell spirit rice? I'm willing to buy it for 5 broken spirits per jin. Jia Ren quickly stowed the rice bag to avoid trouble. The loose cultivators wouldn't believe him if he simply explained that he had no more spirit rice. Instead, he took a different approach. Offering a high price to buy spirit rice was far more convincing than any explanation. His offer to buy spirit rice diverted their attention and successfully pushed the going rate into the 5 broken spirits per jin era. Taoist Jia, leave us some way to live. We've had no spirit rice for our pots for a long time. 5 broken spirits per jin for spirit rice. Those of you Taoists who have extra, don't hide it anymore. Despite the price increase, still, no one came forward to sell spirit rice. The less spirit rice there was available, the higher its price would climb until a solution to the shortage was found. Chapter 40, Turtle Spirit Ointment completed. The trade fair had made a full round, and now it was Jia Ren's turn, who was at the end of the line. Seeking to purchase turtle demon beasts and jade grease gel. I had initially planned to buy demonic blood, but with a living spirit turtle at hand, there's no immediate need. My second attempt to acquire a turtle demon failed. Encountering one was just luck, a second one didn't appear. Jade grease gel is one of the ingredients for turtle spirit ointment. The spirit turtle is much larger than expected, so I'd better have more jade grease gel on hand. 3 pounds of spirit rice were exchanged for 2 pounds of jade grease gel, enough to last a long time. The loose cultivators' bartering had ended, and now came the sporadic private trades. Jia Ren cast several glances at Elder Wu. The elder looked flushed with health. Even though he hadn't sold his demon spotting talismans, he didn't seem perturbed. Is his calm due to excellent chi cultivation skills, or a deep foundation, meaning he has no short-term worries? I'm inclined to believe the latter. Selling demon spotting talismans isn't difficult, and with years of accumulation, his foundation must be much stronger than an ordinary loose cultivator's. Elder Wu isn't in a desperate situation, no need for him to hurry. The exchanges had concluded, and the free trading session was next. Taoist Fang, do you know what treasures have emerged from the inner city? Do you have any spirit rice? You mentioned last time that you were going to sell spirit rice, do you have any in stock? Fang Wu, being a disciple of the 5 Elements sect and the organizer of the trade meet, certainly had a stock of spirit rice. It's really a pity. Fang Wu said. As a strategic material, spirit rice is restricted for sale in the inner city, and we can't get any for the time being. Please rest assured, everyone. There will definitely be spirit rice at the next trade meet. Fellow Taoists, please be patient. As usual, Fang Wu placated the loose cultivators and brought out resources for sale from the inner city. Products from the Pill Cauldron Pavilion included fine elixirs, minor yuan elixirs, spirit bud elixirs, and great origin pills, along with spirit revitalizing pills to restore spiritual power. The quantities were large, and the quality was outstanding. Next were fine talismans, including the exorbitantly priced evil warding talismans at 50 spirit stones each. How much for the spirit bud elixirs? Loose cultivators didn't have many elixirs on them. As they used them, their stock dwindled. Without elixirs to aid them, their cultivation progress was slow. Minor yuan elixirs are 3 spirit stones each. Spirit bud elixirs are 6 spirit stones each. Great origin pills are 9 spirit stones each. The prices were very high, equivalent to 3 times the usual rate. Jia Ren didn't have many spirit stones left, just 16 and 3 fragmented spirit stones. He couldn't afford even 3 spirit bud elixirs. A spirit bud elixir for 2 spirit stones was still manageable, but 6. The steep prices discouraged the loose cultivators. Still, some had deep pockets. Shenxing Sanxiu purchased 5 spirit bud elixirs and 3 great origin pills, drawing everyone's attention. Is he trying to get himself killed faster? He doesn't even know how to lay low and bide his time. Everyone, please feel free to trade. Having finished his sales, Fang Wu packed up the elixirs and talismans. Instead of crowding around the stone table, the loose cultivators dispersed as if they were back in the market, spreading beast skins on the ground and finding places to set up their stalls. From time to time, one could hear the cries of hawking wares. Jia Ren followed suit, spreading out a beast skin and setting up his stall. He offered his old stock of bait tempting technique for sale. He put up a wooden plaque, high price paid for turtle demon beast meat and 1 face-altering secret technique. He had overstocked the bait tempting technique for a while and still had a large inventory. Selling it off would be ideal. I'm not counting on the 4 arts of cultivation, The face-altering secret technique is an additional priority. I've already made preparations to leave the Northern District. Changing my appearance will help avoid trouble and be safer. People continued to pass by his stall in an endless stream, but none stopped. His request for a face-altering secret technique yielded no results. Taoist Jia, back to your old trade? Simingkong chuckled as he walked past the stall. Glimpsing the familiar bait-tempting technique, he couldn't help but laugh. Over a month ago, he went to great lengths to obtain the bait-tempting technique recipe, and now the technique has lost its value. Does he have a death wish, flaunting his presence in front of me? Jia Ren had originally planned to take action after the trade meet ended. He hadn't expected Simingkong to dare to keep provoking him right to his face. Is he trying to confirm whether I've recognized him? The troubles at Lake of Smoky Waves ruined the bait business, and I can't sell off the batch of bait that I've stockpiled. Jia Ren sighed, his face filled with sorrow. Life has become even harder without Lake of Smoky Waves. Simingkong lamented profusely. On the day of the incident at Lake of Smoky Waves, he had planned to go fishing there. Then the bizarre Mist Maiden incident occurred, and he felt fortunate to have narrowly escaped disaster. Both harbored ulterior motives, yet they seemed to enjoy each other's company immensely. The trade meet lasted for 2 hours. Jia Ren was the first to pack up his stall and quickly left, riding his wind control skill. The few loose cultivators who were closely watching Jia Ren gave chase but came back with grim faces. The man had fled so fast that they lost sight of him moments after pursuing. Jia Ren used the turtle breath technique, finding a large rock as cover to hide behind. He then sent out corner worms and mosquitoes to wait for Elder Wu and Simingkong to appear. The first is for the demon spotting talisman crafting technique. The second is for revenge. As the trade meet ended, the loose cultivators left one after another. Their dwellings weren't far away, so each returned quietly. In a short while, Simingkong and Elder Wu left the underground trade meet, followed by a corner worm and a mosquito. Jia Ren didn't plan to act today. Locating their dwellings was enough. After completing everything, he left quickly. Moments later, the corner worm left behind as a lookout confirmed no one was following. Jia Ren let out a sigh of relief and returned to his underground abode through the abandoned stone house. For the time being, I'll focus on cultivating peacefully. For safety, Jia Ren sent corner worms to block the tunnel entrance of the deserted stone house to avoid accidents during cultivation. He took out the spirit turtle from the spirit beast bag and placed it on the stone table. Perhaps because it had lost its contract, the spirit turtle retracted into its shell, assuming a defensive state. It would be a waste to kill it outright. It would be great if I could use it repeatedly. Turtle demon beasts are rare, and living turtle demons are even rarer. The meat and demonic blood of a turtle demon don't come cheap. Unfortunately, without a regeneration spell or elixirs, an injured spirit turtle would still die. Farewell on your journey. Jia Ren pointed his finger at the turtle's head. A golden light pierced from its head, shot out from its tail, and, without losing momentum, embedded itself in the mud wall. The killing power of the Grandmaster level metal finger technique was truly terrifying. Even the defense-oriented shell of the spirit turtle likely couldn't withstand the sharp metal finger technique. Jia Ren took out the verdant flying daggers, using them as boning knives to meticulously separate the turtle shell from the meat. The spirit turtle was quite valuable. Under normal circumstances, 70 pounds of spirit rice could not possibly have been exchanged for it. The turtle shell was excellent material for a defense artifact, and the low-grade defense artifact it could create would be quite impressive. Excluding the inedible parts, he could still salvage 20 pounds of turtle meat, which was also a rarity. The fresher the spirit turtle meat, the better the turtle spirit ointment. This first batch will definitely be potent. Jia Ren put the turtle meat into a pot to stew, adding a large amount of clear water to extract the essence of the spirit turtle meat. During this process, he added jade grease gel, sky fragrance beans, rootless fruits, and several other medicinal ingredients. The mixture then required prolonged boiling. For 3 whole days, he stewed it over a high flame. The underground chamber filled with the persistent scents of smoke and meat, staining the mud walls a blackish brown. It's finally done. The turtle meat in the pot had shrunk considerably, almost disintegrating into mush. Jia Ren scooped out the mushy turtle meat, less than 10 pounds remained. At the bottom of the pot, a finger-thick layer of milky yellow paste had congealed, exuding a rich fragrance. It was the turtle spirit ointment Jia Ren had long dreamed of. Chapter 41, Greatly Increased Lifespan. Finally, it's done. Jia Ren carefully scraped the turtle spirit ointment from the pot, leaving not a single bit behind. Afterward, he washed the pot with clean water, and even the water shimmering with a greasy sheen had some minor effects. The turtle spirit ointment was hard-earned and thus treasured greatly. I wonder how effective the turtle spirit ointment will be? I hope it hasn't wasted the spirit rice I spent and the 3 days of hard work. More than 20 catties of turtle meat yielded just 10 small bottles of ointment, each one exceedingly precious. With the still warm porcelain bottle of turtle spirit ointment in hand, Jiren was full of anticipation. The turtle spirit ointment, designed specifically for the turtle spirit technique, had obvious advantages, including its simple production. One did not need to be an alchemist to make it, so the barrier to entry was very low. The downside was equally clear: it wasn't a spirit pill and couldn't be stored for long. If left for an extended period, its efficacy would decrease significantly. As an exclusive secret medicine for the turtle spirit technique, the ointment was ineffective if taken by itself. It had to be used in conjunction with practicing the turtle spirit technique to be effective. To ensure the medicine's potency was maximized, Jiren couldn't wait to return to his cultivation room and adjust his state for cultivation. Downing a bottle of turtle spirit ointment, he felt the slightly greasy ointment slide down his throat. It tasted alright, similar to unset meat jelly. Jiren swallowed the turtle spirit ointment in one gulp and even washed the bottle with water and drank that too. In a moment's time, he felt a warm and comfortable sensation in his belly, as if he had just had a satisfying meal. At the beginning of his cultivation, Jiren felt a difference from his usual meditation practices. The normally sluggish turtle spirit technique was like a runaway horse, operating at high speed. The effect was far beyond any elixir he had taken before, at least 3 times that of the spirit bud elixir. Jiren could clearly feel his cultivation progressing rapidly, constantly improving. 6 hours later, the effects of the ointment were fully absorbed. His cultivation progress increased by 15 points, his cultivation technique's proficiency level by 20 points, and his lifespan by just over a year, far exceeding his expectations. Haha, there are still 9 bottles left. If I use up 10 bottles of turtle spirit ointment, wouldn't that add more than a decade to my lifespan? The turtle spirit ointment has indeed lived up to my expectations. The turtle spirit ointment was extraordinary, particularly for cultivators practicing the turtle spirit technique, far surpassing ordinary elixirs. Bottle after bottle, his cultivation speed was like being aided by a divine force. Time flew by quickly during cultivation, and before he knew it, 3 days had passed. All 10 bottles of turtle spirit ointment were used up, not a drop left in the bottles. In total, this had added 152 points to his cultivation progress, 203 points to his cultivation technique's proficiency level, and most importantly, it had extended his life by 12 years. Standing up, Jiren felt the rich tortoise spirit energy within his body. Excited, yet there was also a sense of loss in his heart. The effect of the turtle spirit ointment was indeed impressive, and the speed of cultivation was astonishing. Unfortunately, the quantity of turtle spirit ointment was still too small. If he had enough turtle spirit ointment, Jiren was confident he could reach the late-stage chi refining in a short period. Jiren's thoughts shifted, and the proficiency panel appeared. Name: Jiren. Lifespan: 30 out of 92. Realm: 5th layer of chi refining, 159 out of 500. Cultivation technique: turtle spirit technique, 5th layer, 211 out of 500. Spell: wind control skill, Grandmaster, 768 out of 1600. Fireball technique, proficient, 56 out of 200. Spirit eye technique, master, 13 out of 400. Spirit shield, proficient, 47 out of 200. Sunlocking technique, master, 196 out of 400. Return to origin sword chi, proficient, 148 out of 200. Gather water spell, beginner, 30 out of 100. Tempting bait, fish, Grandmaster, limit, plus. Insect control technique, spirit, Grandmaster, limit 2. Insect commanding technique, contract spirit seal, Great Master, 2 out of 800. Metal finger technique, Great Grandmaster, 1887 out of 3200. Turtle breath technique, Great Master, 765 out of 800. Turtle prime spirit armor, beginner, 42 out of 100. Skill breaking point, 2.035. His cultivation level broke through to the 5th layer of chi refining, adding 5 years to his lifespan. After consuming turtle spirit ointment, he gained an additional 12 years of life, bringing his lifespan up to 92. As long as he stabilized, he could live to nearly 100 years old. His skill breaking points had reached 2.035. Unfortunately, aside from the bait tempting technique, there were no other skills to break through. Ignoring the bait tempting technique, it isn't worth enhancing. I lack enough proficiency to break through the insect control technique. Jiren focused his energy on the turtle breath technique, causing the progress in his wind control skill cultivation to slow. He would take his time with it. The tunnel excavation must be about done by now. Walking through the tunnel, Jiren saw 2 newly added passages. He hadn't been idle during the days spent crafting turtle spirit ointment and cultivating. He had already dispatched corner worms to probe the locations of Elder Wu's and Si Mingkong's underground chambers and to excavate corresponding passages. Whenever Jia Ren wished, he could connect them. Their dwellings would become new exits for the tunnels. Well done. Jia Ren took out 5 caddies of spirit rice to make spiritual liquid, rewarding the corner worms. Consumption of spirit rice is too great. Jia Ren consumed 3 caddies of spirit rice daily, while the corner worms and other spirit insects consumed nearly 7 caddies, totaling 10 caddies of spirit rice per day. He still had 400 caddies of spirit rice, which could last a little over a month at most. Either increase income or cut expenses. Increasing income meant finding ways to obtain more spirit rice, cutting expenses meant reducing the number of corner worms. Spirit rice was hard to come by, Jia Ren didn't have many spirit stones, and didn't want to take risks, so increasing income was hopeless. Only cutting expenses remained. The construction of the tunnel is almost done, it's time to kill the donkey once it's done grinding the mill. The corner worms had made significant contributions, but for the sake of long-term considerations, their numbers had to be reduced. He stored the turtle demon blood and had the exotic black mosquitoes feed on corner worms' blood instead, striving to reduce their numbers to 100. Before reducing their numbers, he would use the remaining utility of the corner worms to continue expanding the scale of the tunnels. He aimed to create a sprawling underground maze with countless paths. By the time, even if dozens of 5 Elements sect cultivators entered the underground, they wouldn't be able to catch him. First, I'll pay a visit to the 2 new neighbors. The 2 new tunnels were dug, corresponding to Si Mingkong's number 4 tunnel and Elder Wu's number 5 tunnel. Jia Ren was most concerned about Elder Wu and talisman crafting. I wonder if it's possible to secretly learn how to craft the demon spotting talisman? Previously, he had considered trading for the demon spotting talisman crafting technique from Elder Wu, which was not an easy task. Since ancient times, spells and teachings were not passed on lightly. Even a common blacksmith or tailor taking on an apprentice required the signing of a master-apprentice contract with numerous restrictions. The same held for talisman crafting. Unless driven to desperate straits, Elder Wu would never sell the technique easily. Jia Ren believed that he wasn't the only loose cultivator with similar intentions, but feared they had ended in failure. If I could use the small hole for prolonged observation, I might have a chance. Getting something for nothing would be the best outcome. If I manage to learn and achieve something later, I can compensate Elder Wu. With this thought, Jia Ren entered the number 5 tunnel first, headed for Elder Wu's residence. The number 5 tunnel was not completely connected to Elder Wu's dwelling. A mud wall, still nearly 7 meters thick, separated them. This wall had a tiny hole left in it. The hole was usually blocked, only to be opened by the corner worms upon Jia Ren's arrival. Peering through the hole, Jia Ren could barely make out Elder Wu's underground chamber. Perhaps by luck, Elder Wu was hunched over a flat table, holding a talisman brush and crafting a spirit talisman. As he was only adept in demon spotting talismans, naturally, those were what he was making. The position where Jia Ren was stationed wasn't bad. The pattern being crafted on the talisman paper could be partially seen. Unfortunately, crafting talismans was much more difficult than he had imagined. He only saw Elder Wu's brush move like dragons and snakes, continuously outlining enigmatic symbols on the talisman paper. The attempt to craft a demon spotting talisman ended in failure. As an outsider, it was even more puzzling to watch. It seems I still need to find a way to obtain the talisman crafting technique. Jia Ren's plan to stealthily learn had fallen through, and he returned in disappointment. It's time to take revenge. Chapter 42, Revenge must be taken. Returning from the underground trading meet, Jia Ren immediately made the turtle spirit ointment and busied himself with cultivation, allowing Si Mingkong to live a few more days. Today was to be his day of death. Use the metal finger technique? Using spells would cause spiritual power fluctuations. Not only would this alert Si Mingkong, but there was also a chance of attracting the 5 Elements sect. It's best to avoid taking such risks oneself. Jia Ren went to the insect breeding room and looked at the 3 exotic black mosquitoes. Ever since they had turtle demon blood, the 3 exotic black mosquitoes had recovered their condition and were no longer listless. The 2 flightless exotic black mosquitoes resignedly acted like spirit rice weevils and showed no signs of laying eggs anytime soon. Only 1 exotic black mosquito could be of use, serving as a deadly weapon. Nurture an army for 1,000 days, use it for 1 moment. Jia Ren muttered. The time has come to prove your worth. Controlling the exotic black mosquito to perch on his shoulder, Jia Ren headed along tunnel number 4 and soon arrived at the edge of the passage. The layout was similar to that of tunnel number 5, only 2 zhang away from Si Mingkong's secret chamber. The tiny openings remaining in the mud wall were reopened. Peering through these peepholes, Jia Ren could vaguely see Si Mingkong's figure 2 zhang away. He paced back and forth incessantly, looking irritable. Where has Jiren hidden himself? Siming Kong wondered. Despite asking many fellow cultivators, nobody knows his whereabouts. Siming Kong was wary of Jiren. Ever since encountering him at the trading meet, he had been unable to find peace. He had never forgotten the scar on his face and the pain, and the thought of killing Jiren had never ceased. Unfortunately, once the trading meet ended, Jiren seemed to have vanished into thin air. The unknown is what truly terrifies, he thought. If he dares to show up, I will make sure he has no grave to be buried in. Under the dim candlelight, his burnt face appeared as fierce as a demon's. Jiren didn't rush to act, he was as patient as a seasoned hunter, quietly waiting for his prey to expose a weakness. 2 hours passed. Siming Kong sat cross-legged, cultivating in meditation. The opportunity has come. Jiren thought. Take him down. The exotic black mosquito, upon receiving Jiren's command, burrowed through a tiny opening, cautiously approaching Siming Kong. The moment it entered Siming Kong's underground chamber, the exotic black mosquito dropped its subtlety. With an abrupt burst, it vibrated its wings and flew towards Siming Kong. That sounds like a mosquito, Siming Kong thought, just as he opened his eyes. How could there be mosquitoes in an underground secret chamber? He then saw a black gleaming mosquito rapidly enlarging before him. What is this? Before he could react, the exotic black mosquito's sharp mouth parts, emitting a black light, pierced into his head. His solid skull offered no resistance, it was breached with a single stab. The black light erupted from its mouth parts. Siming Kong still had some strength to resist, but it vanished the moment the black light pierced his head. Brain matter spurted out from a hole in the back of his skull. Siming Kong's body stiffened, and he fell to the ground, devoid of life. He never would have imagined that by hiding in this secret chamber to cultivate, he would die just like that. He had set up numerous contingencies, any intruder should have been detected immediately. Even if Jiren had wanted to make a move, he should have been caught in the traps. Unexpectedly, none of them had been of any use. The exotic black mosquito's black glow dimmed, the recent outburst had taken a significant toll. It landed on Siming Kong's body and greedily sucked his blood. Its belly swelled to 3 times its original size, emanating a sanguine glow. Then, as if drunk, the mosquito sluggishly returned through the tunnel. The man was already dead, even a finishing blow was unnecessary. A vicious mosquito, wasting no words. Break through the tunnel, Jiren decided. Now that the enemy was dead, it was time to collect the spoils of war. The corner worms got busy, quickly enlarging the opening. In less than half the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, the tunnel connected to Siming Kong's underground chamber. Killers will always be killed in return. Jiren said aloud as he stepped into the chamber. After confirming there were no hidden dangers on Siming Kong, Jiren took the storage bag from his waist. Now that's a relief. Holding the storage bag that belonged to Siming Kong, the frustration from his previously failed attempt to steal techniques was largely alleviated. Opening the storage bag, he took out the treasures inside. In one word, poor. Compared to the bizarre cultivator who had previously died at his hands, Siming Kong was on a completely different level. 9 spirit stones and 5 broken spirits. 12 jin and 6 liang of spirit rice. 35 jin of ordinary rice. 1 inferior grade black sword talisman. 1 earth armor talisman. 2 sound transmission talismans. 10 explosive talismans. 245 taels of gold. Besides that, nothing else. Still, this was considerably more than what he himself possessed when he first arrived. A cultivator at the 4th layer of chi refinement is a bit poor, though. This is the normal state for a loose cultivator at the bottom. Siming Kong paid at least 5 spirit stones for the old stone house. Who knows what other expenses he had. Having hidden for nearly a month and depleted his resources, Siming Kong wouldn't have had much wealth left. If he weren't poor, why would he have taken an interest in the business of forging counterfeit bait? Not many spirit stones, but having eliminated a great enemy, my mood is quite good. If it were before, Jiren would have certainly burned Siming Kong's body to ash, erasing all traces. But now, Jiren took out a large water skin and slit Siming Kong's throat to drain his blood. The spiritual blood from a cultivator's body would be useful for feeding the exotic black mosquitoes. Not knowing how long he would still need to hide underground, the more reserves of spiritual blood, the better. He would let the corner worms feast on the remains, saving a great deal of spirit rice otherwise used for their cultivation, a good way to recycle waste. Any bones that couldn't be eaten would be incinerated with the fireball technique. With this, all traces Siming Kong left in this world were erased. Let me look around, see if I've missed anything. Following the tunnel, Jiren arrived at the stone house and immediately saw explosive talismans pasted all around. These were traps set for intruders, anyone entering rashly would trigger the explosive talismans. This was a new tactic Shinigami had learned after suffering a huge loss at Jiren's hands. If Jiren dared to come, Shinigami would have given him a taste of his own medicine. However, Jiren didn't play by the rules, instead using an underground tunnel for a surprise attack. The laid traps were rendered useless. Not bad, a few new explosive talismans, Jiren thought, collecting them one by one. Altogether, the number approached 20. It's time to leave. The underground secret chamber had to be dealt with carefully to prevent anyone from discovering the tunnel. Shinigami's disappearance might attract attention, and Jiren didn't want anyone discovering his tracks. He carefully erased his traces and then sent out the corner worms to fill nearly 5 jong of the tunnel. For the time being, I don't plan on using this escape route. After several days of closed-door cultivation, I wonder if there will be any new developments, Jiren mused. I'll continue to increase the proficiency level of the turtle breath technique and gather some intelligence while I'm at it. The turtle breath technique was not far from reaching the master level. He could improve its proficiency and gather intelligence simultaneously. Jiren habitually first went to eavesdrop near the female cultivator surnamed Wang. Lately, the dual cultivation business hadn't been going well, many practitioners had no customers. Only when one was warm and well-fed did they entertain such special ideas. Many loose cultivators were so poor they couldn't even afford rice for their pots, let alone squander spirit stones on such pursuits. After a good while with no intelligence forthcoming, he decisively moved on. If I remember correctly, the trading meet will reopen tomorrow. The underground trading meet, barring any accidents, opened at a specific time every 7 days. This was a set safe time. Jiren still went to Feng Wu's residence, his gaze probing towards the location of the underground trading meet, only to find darkness below. After scanning for a moment, he couldn't find any trace of Feng Wu. He was unsure if Feng Wu was even there. Elder Wu seemed even more sullen, making it likely difficult to glean any useful intelligence from him. Still, Jiren approached out of habit, hoping for some gain. Taoist Wu, I sincerely wish to learn the Seeking Demon Talisman technique and offer 100 spirit stones as a gift for becoming your disciple. Although no one was visible in the secret chamber, a familiar voice could still be heard. Taoist Shen, you must be joking. Elder Wu's voice replied. The Seeking Demon Talisman technique is my livelihood, I will never sell it. I warn you, Taoist Shen, not to think about killing for treasure. The craft of making Seeking Demon Talismans has long been destroyed by me. Even killing me won't allow you to acquire it. Elder Wu coldly refused, unmoved by the offer of 100 spirit stones as a discipleship gift. Please leave, Taoist Shen. Alas, I have been presumptuous. Shen Dao's voice sighed. If Taoist Wu ever wishes to sell the Seeking Demon Talisman technique, please be sure to notify me. Chapter 43, Spirit Field Burned Down Not for Sale for Even 100 Spirit Stones? Is the price of a single talisman crafting technique that horrifying? Jiren also wanted to learn from Elder Wu and had expected the price to be much lower than what the cultivator surnamed Shen had offered. Yet, Elder Wu was not willing to sell for even 100 spirit stones. Jiren was puzzled. A talisman crafting inheritance didn't come cheap, and a complete one encompassed many types of talismans, not just a single variety. Why would a single talisman crafting technique be so absurdly priced? Could there be something I don't know? Jiren carefully recalled that the demon spotting talisman was rather esoteric. Most of his purchases of demon spotting talismans were either through Elder Wu or several major talisman stores. With prices cheaper than the talisman stores, Elder Wu had few competitors in the outer city. The demon spotting talisman was like a hen that laid golden eggs, only a fool would teach it to others and create competitors for themselves. Isn't earning spirit stones for oneself more appealing? 100 spirit stones was no small sum for an average loose cultivator. Elder Wu, with his substantial wealth, might simply not be interested. The likelihood of him learning the demon spotting talisman was growing slimmer. I'll just take it one step at a time. The appearance of the cultivator surnamed Shen also served as a reminder to Jiren. There's one source of information I haven't fully utilized. The cultivator surnamed Shen, who had taken over the business of aging stone houses, had extensive connections and was a strong competitor for the Seeking Demon Talisman technique. He also possessed a large sum of spirit stones earned from aging stone houses, a considerable fortune. If I could kill the cultivator surnamed Shen, just like Shinigami, wouldn't I acquire all his wealth? No sooner had the thought arisen than Jiren squashed it. He still had his own moral bottom line and codes of conduct to adhere to. If others don't offend me, I won't offend them. If Jiren used his insects to kill, he might indeed be able to secretly and undetectably murder the cultivator surnamed Shen and seize the latter's wealth. But once he entertained such wicked thoughts and grew accustomed to making quick money, he would never be able to return to the slower, conventional ways a loose cultivator earns spirit stones. Why do gamblers get stuck in gambling, unable to extricate themselves? They don't get addicted overnight. Rather, it's because one day they earn a fortune far exceeding what normal means could provide. They mistakenly believe gambling can change their fate, and so they fall deeper into the trap. Once one's values are destroyed, it's incredibly hard to revert to how things were. Bizarre cultivators are the same, their fall doesn't happen in a single day. Apart from a few individuals inherently evil, most are loose cultivators struggling at the bottom. After tasting the sweetness of plunder and murder, they embark on this road of no return. Once accustomed to plundering for quick money, a first time inevitably leads to a second, and then a third. Walk by the riverside often enough, and your shoes are bound to get wet. Someday, one has to pay the price for their actions. Jiren didn't want to live such a perilous life, it was best to nip these dangerous thoughts in the bud. Just gather information, nothing more. Reconnecting to my previous dwelling isn't difficult, it can be done in half a day. I could gain another source of information. Today is the day the transaction meeting reopens. I need to gather more information. Jiren didn't plan to attend the transaction meeting. Failing to acquire the treasures he wanted would only increase his risk of exposure. His main focus was to gather information. Before he could seclude himself to cultivate, a massive roar suddenly came from above. The earth shook, and the mountains trembled. 5 Elements Sect? The commotion has never been this intense before. Jiren halted his cultivation and activated the turtle breath technique, ensuring his aura wouldn't leak out. While improving my cultivation level is important, safety is paramount. What's happened? Being underground and thus cut off from information, Jiren immediately rushed through the tunnel toward Fang Wu's underground trading post. Fang Wu had the widest range of contacts and was the most well-informed. Everything was dark and silent here. I'll wait then. Time ticked by, and Jiren practiced his turtle breath technique to pass the hours. An unknown amount of time passed before sounds finally emerged from the underground trading post. Thousand Beasts Mountain has broken through. I hope it doesn't affect this place. The Great Wilderness Market better hold up. Jiren's eyes lit up, he bore not the slightest goodwill toward the 5 Elements sect and wished for nothing less than its downfall. However, Yang Bingzi is still with the 5 Elements sect. If the sect were gone, all the investments I've made in Yang Bingzi would be for naught. The life and death of a sect isn't something a small fry like me can intervene in. I have no choice but to quietly await the outcome. The ground shook violently, trembling unceasingly. Jiren seriously worried the tunnels might collapse. The worst didn't happen. After about the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, the shaking stopped, and everything returned to calm. Jiren could hear Fang Wu's faint breathing within the underground trading post. A figure barged into the underground trading post, shattering the long-standing stillness. Fang Wu, haha, there's some fantastic news. The spirit fields on Grand Wilderness Mountain are on fire. Thousand Beasts Mountain's attack on the outer city was a feint. Their true aim was to set Grand Wilderness Mountain ablaze. They want to cut off the 5 Elements sect's subsequent supplies. The 5 Elements sect repelled Thousand Beasts Mountain but couldn't protect the spirit fields. All of them were burned to ashes. The spirit rice we've been hoarding can now fetch an astronomical price. People's sorrows and joys rarely align. The complete burning of the spirit fields and the destruction of spirit rice was a catastrophic blow for both the 5 Elements sect and the victimized spirit farmers. But to some, it was a cause for celebration. Thousand Beasts Mountain was one beneficiary, speculators hoarding stocks were another. Simply because the supply of spirit rice had decreased, their potential profits had increased. The most pitiable were, without a doubt, the spirit farmers. The sacrificial lambs of the sect wars. After a busy year, first came the pestilence. Before they could enjoy any peace, the fires of Thousand Beasts Mountain descended upon them. Both disasters were man-made. The spirit farmers I know will be heartbroken again. Alas, war always harms the common folk at the bottom first. With the spirit rice destroyed, it's going to be so hard to buy any now. Jiren felt heavy-hearted. The destruction of the spirit fields was not good news for him. With scarce grain supplies, prices will be even higher. The war had already driven up spirit rice prices. Now, I'm afraid it will be nearly impossible to buy any. I still have over 400 caddies of spirit rice. It seems like a lot, but it won't last too long. The voice sounded familiar to Jiren. He peered through the wormhole toward the underground trading post. His view was limited, but he managed to catch a glimpse of the visitor's face. Chiyulong. The loose cultivator Fang Wu had initially found to help with aging the stone houses. When will we sell the spirit rice? Fang Wu adopted a humble posture before the ecstatic Chiyulong, ready to follow his lead. They had accumulated a large stockpile of spirit rice, and inner sect disciples of the 5 Elements sect had even questioned why they weren't selling any. The income from the underground trading post hadn't met expectations, so they'd wanted to wrap things up early. Now, it seemed their attitude would undergo a complete 180-degree change. Actively selling it won't fetch a high price. Believe me, it won't be long before loose cultivators come begging at our door. If we don't sell it for at least 1 spirit stone per caddy, how could we justify this heaven-sent opportunity? Chi-Long thought about the vast amounts of spirit rice he had hoarded, his face blossoming into a wide grin. Selling all this spirit rice will definitely bring a huge fortune. Manage the underground trading post well for me, and you won't be short of rewards. After this is done, I'll take you into the inner city and also reward you with a generous sum of spirit stones. Chi-Long said. Chi-Long didn't linger, he floated away. He had to rush to report this excellent news to his superiors. Before leaving, he seemed to remember something and added the reminder. The business of aging stone houses is over. The sheep have been fattened, and it's time for the slaughter. Chapter 44, The Plight of Having No Rice. Jiren hadn't expected to overhear such secret information and felt a chill run through his body. The cultivation world was fraught with danger, a fact he deeply understood. He hadn't realized how narrowly he'd skirted peril time and again. The security of the aged stone house operation couldn't be guaranteed. To avoid trouble, Jiren had made a timely escape. If not, he would have been the one slaughtered like a fattened sheep. Jiren gazed intently at the two men, as if to etch their images deeply into his memory. Fang Wu and Chi-Long were now on his blacklist, they were to be avoided at all costs. Jiren didn't leave but sat in place, tirelessly practicing the turtle breath technique to improve his proficiency. Past experiences had taught him that effort and sweat must not be taken for granted. With the proficiency panel, every effort yielded its due reward, something extremely valuable. His turtle breath technique was not far from breaking through to the Grandmaster level, it would just take a bit more time. Time flowed steadily, and soon the underground trade meeting was about to recommence. The underground trade meeting was brightly lit, with more and more loose cultivators arriving. The recent invasion of Thousand Beasts Mountain and the burning of the Great Wilderness Mountain spirit fields were significant incidents that had increased the risks. Yet, they couldn't extinguish the enthusiasm of loose cultivators flocking to the underground trade meeting. The most important matter at hand was buying spirit rice. As the largest source of spirit rice, the loss from the thousands of acres of burnt spirit fields in the Great Wilderness Mountain was terrifying. The Five Elements sect had other sources of spirit rice, but with the reduced supply, priority would undoubtedly be given to Five Elements sect cultivators. The low-level loose cultivators were all facing the plight of having no rice to eat. Desperation was evident on the faces of the loose cultivators. Their singular focus was to buy spirit rice, the more, the better. The number of loose cultivators had increased considerably since the last meeting. This was likely due to newcomers who, within the past 7 days, had gotten involved with the aged stone houses and joined the ranks. Compared to the previous trade meeting, the attendee number had reached 150, making it a truly bustling and lively affair. Fang Wu's gaze swept over the loose cultivators, counting them. There were 149 people, 3 fewer than before. Jiren's figure was nowhere to be seen. Before Fang Wu could declare the trade meeting open, impatient loose cultivators started to shout. Buying spirit rice, 6 fragmented spirit stones for a caddy. Hunger-stricken loose cultivators offered high prices to buy spirit rice, but no one responded. At the last trade meeting, loose cultivators still had some grain stored away and could hold on for a while. 7 days had passed, and those with little stored food began to go hungry, forcing them to offer high prices for spirit rice, seeking to buy green bud rice and common rice. Name your price. A languid voice rang out as the price rose from 6 to 7 fragmented spirit stones per caddy, yet no one sold. Common rice was also priced in fragmented spirit stones, but similarly yielded nothing. A low-quality magical artifact for 15 caddies of spirit rice. Quality spirit bud elixir for 7 caddies of spirit rice. Unlike the previous 2 trade meetings, the variety of goods for trade was much broader. With the critical need for food due to widespread hunger, spirit rice became the undisputed key currency. Jiren spotted Elder Wu among the crowd. He was no longer calm and collected but looked rather anxious. Massive sale on demon spotting talismans. 5 demon spotting talismans for just 6 caddies of spirit rice. Don't keep hoarding your spirit rice. Anyone with spare spirit rice, sell me a few caddies. We can negotiate a good price. All items for sale were to be transacted in spirit rice. The sole focus of buyers was also spirit rice, resulting in not a single item being sold. By now, their own supply of spirit rice was insufficient. It seemed unlikely anyone would be willing to sell. Shendu, didn't you want to buy spirit bud elixir? The elixirs from Pill Cauldron Pavilion are of high quality. I wouldn't exchange them for spirit rice if I weren't desperate. Please, do me a favor and swap with me for a few caddies. If you can spare more spirit rice, I can offer a better price. Shenxing Sangxiu had a close relationship with Fang Wu, which certainly meant access to special channels for buying spirit rice. Compared to the other loose cultivators, whose figures and faces showed visible emaciation, Shenxing Sangxiu had maintained his original build. His ruddy complexion was the best proof that he was not lacking food. Fellow Taoist, you jest. I also have no grain in hand. Shenxing Sangxiu was no fool, how could he not understand the other party's sinister motives? Clutching a large sum of spirit stones earned from his aged stone house activities, he felt uneasy. Another portion of spirit rice? Are they wishing for his quick demise? Facing the scrutinizing gazes of the crowd, Shenxing Sangxiu was nervous and on edge. The trading session begins. Everyone may proceed with their exchanges. Fang Wu announced. He seemed to notice Shenxing Sangxiu's predicament and helped ease the situation. A new round of trading commenced, with the only desired item being spirit rice. As one would expect, the exchanges all failed. Not a single person produced even a grain of rice. The loose cultivators' complexions turned unsightly as they realized something. Spirit rice was becoming increasingly difficult to acquire. Taoist Fang, 7 days ago you mentioned that you would sell spirit rice. May I inquire whether the spirit rice has been delivered? The loose cultivators had ventured here, risking danger, all for the spirit rice delivery Fang Wu had promised. This was also their only possible channel to obtain spirit rice. Fang Wu heard this and said with a bitter expression. I'm afraid I have to disappoint you, my Taoist friends. Today, we were supposed to receive several thousand caddies of spirit rice, but unexpectedly, a major incident occurred. The spirit fields were burned. The spirit rice has also been confiscated. Cultivators from the Five Elements sect are working to resolve the issue. There should be an answer in a few days. Upon hearing this, the loose cultivators' hearts sank. Before they could grow angry, Fang Wu added. However, so that you are not disheartened, I am willing to take out all my stored grain and sell it to you. I have a total of 500 caddies of spirit rice. I hope it can help those Taoist friends with little grain hold on for a few more days. How noble of you, Taoist Fang. Taoist Fang is ever so kind-hearted. They had thought they wouldn't be able to buy any spirit rice, but unexpectedly, there was a turn of fortune. More people watched coldly from the sidelines, silently observing Fang Wu's performance. Sell his own stock of grain? How much spirit rice could that possibly be? It was likely a ploy to withhold supply, drive up prices, and sell the least amount of rice for the highest return. To whom should the spirit rice be sold? 500 caddies of spirit rice was a considerable amount for a single loose cultivator. If distributed to every loose cultivator present, each person would only get about 2 caddies. At most, it could prevent starvation for 7 days. Who would get to buy the 500 caddies of spirit rice was the biggest issue. Everyone wanted the 500 caddies of spirit rice for themselves. To prevent one person from monopolizing it and leaving other Taoist friends without grain, we will auction the spirit rice in increments of 1 caddy each to ensure fairness. Fang Wu declared. Shrewd merchant. One had to admit Fang Wu was a competent businessman. Selling outright to one person would not fetch a good price and might incite collective anger. Auctioning the spirit rice in portions of 1 caddy would maximize profits, fetching a higher price per caddy. It also ensured that the underground trade meeting could continue, as cultivators wouldn't be entirely unable to purchase spirit rice. If spirit rice couldn't be purchased at the trade meeting, the loose cultivators' trust would collapse, and the meeting itself would likely disband. Killing several birds with one stone. The loose cultivators understood Fang Wu's intentions but were powerless to do otherwise. Who among them didn't rely on Fang Wu to obtain spirit rice? The first portion of spirit rice, the starting bid is 1 fragmented spirit stone. Fang Wu announced. A caddy for 1 fragmented spirit stone. The price seemed fair, but it gave people the illusion that anyone could get a bargain. The problem was, this price was bound to be impossible to secure any spirit rice with. As more people participated in the bidding, the price would only go higher. With the loose cultivators out of grain, many already starving, they were willing to pay any price to secure more spirit rice. 7 fragmented spirit stones. Chapter 45, The Lingering Spirit. The first pound of spirit rice at the auction kept climbing in price, quickly surpassing 1 spirit stone. It finally sold for the high price of 2 spirit stones and 3 fragmented spirits. The loose cultivators were all shocked by the price at which a pound of spirit rice was sold. It was terrifying. When did a pound of spirit rice become so expensive? Who could afford spirit rice now? Next time, it should be cheaper. The price of spirit rice in the second auction did not come down as people expected, but instead rose by 3 fragmented spirits. Desperate with hunger, the loose cultivators spared no expense to buy spirit rice. With less rice and more people, many loose cultivators were destined not to get any spirit rice. Initially, they could still restrain themselves and watch from the sidelines. As more and more spirit rice was auctioned off, they could no longer hold back and join the auction in droves. This also caused the auction price of spirit rice to skyrocket, at one point reaching 4 spirit stones and 7 fragmented spirit stones. Without rice and in desperation, the loose cultivators went mad, Fang Wu's greed sealing their fate. As the spirit rice gradually dwindled, the competing loose cultivators became increasingly frenzied. As the auction neared its end, each pound of spirit rice sold for more than 5 spirit stones, a record high for the Great Wilderness Market. After the auction ended and the frenzy subsided, the loose cultivators looked at their shriveled storage bags with regret. The spirit stones they spent yielded very little spirit rice. How many days could this amount of spirit rice last? Loose cultivators who couldn't afford to join the auction and didn't get even a pound of spirit rice felt a chill creep into their hearts, their gazes towards Fang Wu filled with growing malice. "Taoist Fang, what you have done is simply too much," one said. "We only buy rice to survive, but the price is just too high. This is outrageous. Life is hard for loose cultivators. Are you trying to drive us to our deaths?" Fang Wu swept his gaze over the protesting loose cultivators, his tone growing colder. "This is not a charity hall. Everyone here is without spirit rice. I kindly offer my own rations, and yet some people maliciously slander me? We must get spirit rice today." Emboldened by their numbers, the loose cultivators aim to seize the opportunity to snatch some spirit rice. Dare to cause trouble here? Do you want to be captured by the Five Elements sect? Haha, if we're caught by the Five Elements sect, at least we'll get a full meal. That's better than starving to death. A jade-colored sword light flew out, directly beheading the troublemaker. With the death of one loose cultivator, the crowd descended into chaos. One by one, they activated their spirit shields and defense artifacts, as if facing a formidable enemy. Only then did they remember this was not the market, safety was not guaranteed. Troublemakers should be slain. Fang Wu declared. The trade fair will reopen 7 days later, and new rice will be delivered. To avoid escalating the situation, Fang Wu announced the end of the trade fair. 500 pounds of spirit rice had sold for 2,000 spirit stones, far exceeding expectations. Yet some loose cultivators were unwilling to leave. Without rice in their pots, how could they go back and wait another 7 days? Could they survive? Would the price of spirit rice be cheaper next time? The loose cultivators were very calm, having survived until now, they held no illusions. If that's the case, let's all become cannon fodder for the Five Elements sect together. One of them declared. Without the slightest fear, Fang Wu stimulated the spiritual power fluctuation within him, not caring in the least that it would attract the Five Elements sect cultivators. Was he trying to create a scenario where both sides perish? No, Fang Wu had backing. The only ones who would die were themselves. The hotheads among the loose cultivators regained their senses. They didn't dare to stay a moment longer, fearing that the Five Elements sect cultivators would come knocking, and hurriedly left. Selling them spirit rice was generous enough, yet they complain about the price. As the loose cultivators left, Chi Yulong, who had been hiding behind the scenes, emerged with a laugh. The total number of spirit stones gained from auctioning the spirit rice is 2,025 spirit stones, plus 3 fragmented spirits. Fang Wu reported. Fang Wu, his smile gone, respectfully handed over the spirit stones, still warm from the exchange. Not bad. Chi Yulong exclaimed. 500 pounds of spirit rice sold for the price of 2,000 pounds of spirit stones. Fang Wu, you are quite talented. 200 spirit stones is your reward. Keep up the good performance. Chi Yulong dined on meat, it wouldn't do for his subordinates to not even have a sip of soup. He still had plenty of spirit rice and relied on Fang Wu to sell it. Taoist Chi, we loose cultivators don't have many spirit stones. Fang Wu said. If we hold another spirit rice auction in 7 days, there won't be much profit to squeeze out afterward. Chi Yulong let out a hearty laugh. Then let's make one last big score. The Five Elements sect is short on manpower. After we make the last bit of spirit stones from this auction of spirit rice, we'll send them to the Five Elements sect. The fate of the loose cultivators was clearly arranged, their spirit stones would be drained, and then they would be sent to the battlefield as cannon fodder. Tonight's not bad, time to slaughter a fat sheep. If he had just paid out 200 spirit stones, he had to recoup it from somewhere else. Jia Ren quietly watched the two leave, then decisively followed the underground tunnel toward Shenxing Sanxiu's dwelling. He wasn't there to warn Shenxing Sanxiu. He wasn't close with Shenxing Sanxiu, and it wasn't worth the risk of exposing the tunnels. Using the convenience of the tunnels, Jia Ren arrived at Shenxing Sanxiu's place ahead of Chi Yulong and Fang Wu. The underground chamber was empty, but voices drifted down from above. "Shendu, please sell me a few pounds of spirit rice." A voice pleaded. "You can't just stand by and watch me die." The voice added, sounding desperate. Someone was at the door wanting to buy spirit rice? Jiren thought. "Taoist, you jest. I have no spirit rice to spare, I'm truly sorry." Shenxing Sanxiu replied with a helpless look. This was an unforeseen problem caused by the trade fair. He was known to be closely associated with Feng Wu, and his trade in old stone houses had earned him a hefty sum of spirit stones. He wasn't short on spirit rice, which was sure to make others envious. Even if he claimed to not have much spirit rice, no one would believe him. The nameless loose cultivator spoke with a mournful tone. "Shendu, won't you give me a way to live?" "Taoist Feng, why have you come?" Shenxing Sanxiu exclaimed in pleasant surprise. Feng Wu had helped him considerably, and gratitude filled his heart. Before he could voice his thanks, a long spike pierced his heart, leaving a bloody hole through his body. The killer was the trusted Feng Wu. Until the very end, Shenxing Sanxiu's face held an expression of utter disbelief. "You've got some nerve." The other loose cultivator exclaimed in shock and anger at Feng Wu. "Shendu didn't want to sell you spirit rice, but was that reason enough to murder him? It was clearly you who murdered him, yet you're the one shouting 'Catch the thief.'" A magic sword radiating a jade glow shot out from the shadows, severing his head. The words he never uttered followed him to the underworld. Qiulong emerged from a dark corner, a smirk on his face. "Shendu, I have avenged you. May your journey be peaceful," he proclaimed, as both he and Feng Wu shed crocodile tears in a comical display. Loose cultivators who didn't know the truth might think their relationship had been good, never guessing Feng Wu was the murderer. The moment Shenxing Sanxiu got involved, his fate had been sealed. Qiulong and Feng Wu scoured Shenxing Sanxiu's dwelling for anything of value. Jiren, well aware of the entire situation, felt a mournful empathy. Fighting back irritation, he watched as the two executioners divvied up their spoils in the secret chamber below. "I almost forgot, didn't Jiren come to the market?" Qiulong suddenly remembered. "Have you found where he lives?" he inquired. "I haven't properly returned the favor for his help with the old stone houses," Qiulong remarked inwardly. Qiulong hadn't forgotten about Jiren. He had intended to use him for the old stone houses and nurture him as his money sack. Once the old stone house business was done, he planned to kill him for his wealth and squeeze out the last of his value. Unfortunately, Jiren was too cautious and left no opportunity. Jiren's escape had nearly wrecked the follow-up plans. Being unforgiving by nature, Qiulong was determined not to let Jiren go. "He's too cautious," Feng Wu reported. "The people sent to follow him came up empty." "Don't worry," Feng Wu assured confidently. "He traded spirit rice for the spirit turtle, so he can't have much grain stored up. I don't believe he won't come to the market. When that time comes, killing him will be as easy as flipping a hand," Feng Wu added, eager for the hunt. Qiulong nodded in satisfaction and quickly left. Jiren, having heard their entire conversation, felt his blood boil with killing intent. These two were like relentless ghosts. "Sooner or later, I'll slaughter you both." Chapter 46, Security Assurance Assassinate Feng Wu and Qiulong. Unlike Seeming Kong, Feng Wu and Qiulong were both at the 6th layer of Qi refinement, their strength surpassing his. Their magic artifacts, treasures, and mastered spells were unknown, and a single exotic black mosquito could not guarantee a successful assassination. The price of a failed assassination was the exposure of the tunnels, being hunted by Feng Wu and Qiulong, and threats from the Five Elements sect. The risk was too great. Let them live a little longer for now. It wouldn't be too late to kill them when my strength far surpasses theirs. Battling those of a higher cultivation level was extremely dangerous. The victor became king, while the loser ended up in the netherworld. Jiren preferred to use absolute strength to crush his enemies, giving them no chance to counterattack. Breakthrough Tunnel Number 6 to Qiulong's residence. A new tunnel was added, connecting to Qiulong's residence. Only by knowing oneself and the enemy can one emerge victorious in every battle. Understanding more about their habits was key to targeting their weaknesses. Jiren kept a close watch on them. If an opportunity arose, he would not miss it. After watching the entertaining spectacle, he continued to increase his proficiency level in the Turtle Breath Technique. Turtle Breath Technique Proficiency Level +1. Turtle Breath Technique, Grandmaster Level. With this final increase in proficiency, the Turtle Breath Technique successfully broke through to the Grandmaster level. The Turtle Breath Technique's ability to conceal one's aura became even stronger, making Jiren's hiding place underground even more secure. Unlike the immediately apparent improvements from the Metal Finger Technique and Wind Control skill, the effects of the Turtle Breath Technique at the Grandmaster level would require time to ascertain. 2 days later, tunnel number 6 was completed, opening a new channel for information. The female cultivator surnamed Wang has completely vanished? Jia Ren peered through the wormhole. The secret chamber where the female cultivator surnamed Wang had been was empty, her whereabouts were unknown. Is she dead? The intelligence value of this location was dwindling. Since learning about the spirit turtle, he had acquired no further useful information. As usual, he went to Elder Wu's dwelling. Elder Wu had bought 9 gin of spirit rice at a high price through the trade fair. He was one of the loose cultivators at the underground trade fair who had bought the most spirit rice. Despite spending a large amount of spirit stones, he still couldn't ensure his daily sustenance. Elder Wu no longer possessed the essence, energy, and spirit he once had, nor did he have the vigor or inclination to create talismans. He feigned sleep to reduce his consumption of energy and food, thereby maintaining a peak state. For the past 2 days, I haven't felt hungry when cultivating the turtle breath technique. Could this be an additional effect now that the turtle breath technique has reached the Grandmaster level? It's not bad. At least I don't have to worry about running out of spirit rice and starving to death. Jia Ren had long been aware of the crisis. With the spirit fields on Grand Wilderness Mountain gone, obtaining more spirit rice was difficult. Every bit consumed was a bit less in his reserves. For the past 2 days, he had consciously reduced his daily spirit rice consumption. Thanks to Si Mingkong's selfless contribution, the corner worm's demand for food was temporarily met. The next time he fed spirit rice to the corner worms, he could reduce their numbers. The master can't starve while the worms have an unending supply of spirit rice. Elder Wu had no intelligence to offer, so the third place Jia Ren visited was Fang Wu's residence. Compared to the desolation of the other locations, Fang Wu's underground trade fair was quite bustling. Since the spirit rice auction, dozens of loose cultivators had come, either to buy spirit rice or to attempt robbery and murder. Everyone had witnessed the 500 gin of spirit rice selling for 2,000 fragmented spirit stones. Quite a few were tempted. Loose cultivators without spirit stones or spirit rice had nothing to lose. Driven by desperation, they were bold enough to rob for spirit stones and food. Fellow Taoists, please leave. Don't force our hand. 2 loose cultivators at the 6th layer of Qi refinement emerged, their expressions unfriendly as they faced the newcomers. Taoist Liu, Taoist Ma, why must you aid a tyrant in his wicked deeds? If you get your hands on the plundered spirit rice and spirit stones, would you still be afraid of starving? Fang Wu was merely an agent. The spirit stones had long been handed over to the 5 Elements sect cultivator. Even if they killed Fang Wu, how much spirit rice and spirit stones could they actually seize? Robbery is a one-time deal. How would the plundered spirit rice and spirit stones be divided? And where would they buy more spirit rice afterward? Being employed by Fang Wu at least guaranteed them a daily supply of spirit rice. The 2 loose cultivators remained unmoved. They drew their magic artifacts and coldly declared, "Approach and die." The loose cultivators who were still considering action weighed their strength against the guards and departed, disgruntled. Fang Wu then said, "Thank you for your trouble, fellow Taoists. Here is your share of spirit rice for today." Each received 2 gin of spirit rice and thanked him profusely. Ever since the spirit rice auction, Fang Wu, concerned for his safety, had begun hiring loose cultivators using spirit rice as payment. 2 gin of spirit rice? Previously, that amount would have been an insult to a cultivator at the 6th layer of Qi refinement. But now, with spirit rice prices so high, even a single gin was hard to obtain, and some would willingly kill for 2. Employed by Fang Wu, they received a guaranteed 2 gin of spirit rice daily, a fact that made countless other loose cultivators green with envy. Hiring a 6th layer Qi refinement loose cultivator for 2 gin of spirit rice is truly a bargain. The auction price for spirit rice was terrifying, yet its cost price was merely 3 fragmented spirits per gin, making this hiring fee exceptionally cheap. Those remaining loose cultivators won't be able to cause trouble for much longer. The trade fair will reopen in 5 days, and that will be their doom. It's time to consider an escape route. When no one was watching, Fang Wu's smile vanished, his face clouding over with worry. To outsiders, he appeared to be in charge of the underground trade fair, always cheerful and beaming. He lacked neither spirit stones nor spirit rice, held a high position, and maintained good relations with many loose cultivators. But this was merely superficial splendor. In reality, he was walking on thin ice. Fang Wu was well aware of his position. He was just a dog kept by Qi Yulong. To secure entry into the inner city, he had abandoned his dignity and curried favor in every conceivable way. The more he understood Qi Yulong, the clearer Qi Yulong's true nature became to him. He couldn't be certain that the fate of the Shenxing Sangxi wouldn't befall him. The reopening of the trade fair in 5 days would be his most perilous moment. I must devise a foolproof plan to save my life. Fang Wu pondered. If Qi Yulong decided to move against him, It would surely be because he coveted the spirit stones Fang Wu had earned recently. Voluntarily handing over my wealth might not guarantee my safety. Simply because I know too much. Over 100 loose cultivators were sent to the battlefield as cannon fodder. Any survivors would become a security risk. And they would seek revenge only against me, Fang Wu. Only dead men tell no tales. My chance of safely entering the inner city and ensuring my survival depends on how I use the spirit stones in my possession. If Chiyulong intends to kill the donkey after it's done grinding the grain, he'll end up with nothing. Where should I hide it? The underground trade fair? No matter how well I hide it there, Chiyulong could find it with a little effort. The most dangerous place is the safest place. Fang Wu's eyes lit up, and he decisively left the underground trade fair. Jia Ren had remained hidden in the tunnel, secretly observing through a wormhole. Unfortunately, he hadn't gathered much valuable information. I hope there will be something to gain at Chiyulong's residence. Jia Ren returned through the tunnel, heading towards tunnel number 6. Tunnel number 6 had just been completed, and he had never been there before. The 6 intertwined tunnels formed an increasingly complex network, but Jia Ren had already memorized their layout and found the correct one with ease. He opened a wormhole and peered into the secret chamber below. It was empty. Chiyulong was nowhere to be seen. He waited for a moment, but no one appeared. Just as Jia Ren was about to leave, he heard approaching footsteps. He's back? Jia Ren focused his gaze, only to be startled. The person approaching was not Chiyulong, but Fang Wu. What's going on? Fang Wu moved cautiously, approaching the stone bed where Chiyulong usually meditated, and began to dig beneath it. In a short while, he had dug a pit half a jong deep. The most dangerous place is indeed the safest place. Chiyulong, clever as he is, would never imagine I'd hide my things under the very stone bed where he cultivates. Fang Wu took out a bulging storage bag, carefully wrapped it in a piece of tattered cloth, and placed it into the pit. He then filled the pit with earth, restoring it to its previous appearance. He carefully erased all traces of his activity. Having done all this, he didn't dare to linger and hastily departed. Chapter 47, Unexpected Wealth. What is this guy up to? Jia Ren witnessed Fang Wu burying the storage bag, a perplexed expression on his face. Why hide the storage bag under Chiyulong's stone bed? Something's not right. This is a good thing for me. The bulging storage bag means there are many items inside. It could turn out to be an unexpected fortune. Jia Ren was in no hurry. He quietly waited for a moment to confirm that Fang Wu would not return. He then sent out mosquitoes to keep watch and prevent discovery during the treasure excavation. Time to get to work. With everything ready, Jia Ren no longer hesitated and commanded the corner worm to dig through the mud wall. As soon as the wall was dug just enough for him to slide through, Jia Ren eagerly excavated the storage bag, wrapped in tattered cloth, from under the stone bed. The rag was of an unknown material, effective in preventing prying eyes. The storage bag was heavy, indicating that the treasures within were abundant. Time to leave. Jia Ren didn't want to count his spoils in the enemy's house. If the owner returned, an awkward encounter would ensue. He quickly dealt with the traces, restored the mud wall, and strived to return it to its original state. Close off the passage. But that alone isn't enough to ensure safety. If Fang Wu discovers the theft of his storage bag, he'll certainly dig 3 feet into the ground. That would increase the risk of exposing the underground passage I used. I can't leave such a significant safety hazard. After completely sealing the passage in one go, Jia Ren finally felt at ease. Now it was time to tally the unexpected gains. Jia Ren sat on the cultivation stone bed, his consciousness probing into the storage bag. Well done. There were 3 bags of spirit rice, each weighing 100 catties, over 500 spirit stones of various sizes, and even more fragmented spirit stones. Beyond that, there were elixirs in porcelain bottles marked with the Pill Cauldron Pavilion seal. After counting, Jia Ren couldn't stop the corners of his mouth from curving upward. 110 directions storage bag. 320 catties of spirit rice. 649 spirit stones and 5 fragmented spirit stones. 25 spirit bud elixirs. 27 great origin pills. 20 chi recovery pills. This time I'm really going to strike it rich. Spiritual light filled the area, dazzling to the eyes. Did Fang Wu hide all his wealth here? Jia Ren had never expected the storage bag to contain such astounding resources. Wealth from the trade fair? Impossible. Just a few days ago at the underground trade fair, over 2,000 spirit stones were auctioned off, most of which were handed over to Chiyulong. Not to mention the vast amount of elixirs put up for sale, which was far more than this. This must be Fang Wu's private wealth, amassed from managing the old stone house and overseeing the auction. Renovating one stone house could earn 3 spirit stones. With 150 loose cultivators, that would mean 450 spirit stones. Who knows what other extra income he had? Over 600 spirit stones isn't that much in that context. Moreover, it wouldn't have been difficult for Fang Wu to take out more than 300 caddies of spirit rice. He controlled the spirit rice channels and surely had his own quota to purchase. With such authority over spirit rice, acting like a rat feasting on it would be no trouble. It would be easy to line his own pockets substantially. If he secretly took just half a tael for every caddy of spirit rice sold, it would amount to a significant sum over time. Fang Wu's ill-gotten gains have come to benefit me. Aren't you plotting against me, Fang Wu? First, I'll take the spirit stones and spirit rice you've earned as compensation for the trouble you've caused me and the schemes you've hatched. Jia Ren had come into an unexpected windfall. He strove to remain calm as he made plans for the future. It's unclear when the war between the two sects will end, and I can't guarantee I'll be able to secure a spirit rice supply in the future. It's best to prepare for the long haul as soon as possible. To maintain a daily consumption of 3 caddies of spirit rice, I'll eat 2 caddies myself and use 1 caddy to cultivate the spirit insects. With over 700 caddies, the spirit rice can last for about half a year. The elixirs are all produced by Pill Cauldron Pavilion and are of good quality. I'll keep a few consumable elixirs for emergencies and use the rest to recover spiritual power and improve my spell proficiency. Transforming elixirs into strength made him feel more secure. First, I need to confirm there are no safety risks. Just because the storage bag was buried under the stone bed doesn't mean it's absolutely safe. The original owner isn't dead, and Fang Wu is a clever man. Who knows if he set up any contingencies? If there are risks, cultivating with the resources in this storage bag could lead to someone tracking me down. Every spirit stone and fragmented spirit stone, as well as each elixir in the bottles, was carefully checked to ensure there were no issues. The last item to check was the spirit rice. Bag by bag, he poured it out and examined each grain. He activated the spirit eye technique and scrutinized everything meticulously, searching for any potential dangers. I didn't expect there to be a real problem. Jia Ren took out a grain of spirit rice from one of the bags. The grain looked intact on the outside but glowed faintly from within. This spirit rice had been imprinted with a tracking mark. If he hadn't discovered it in time, he would still have been rejoicing over his newfound wealth, unaware that he was effectively revealing himself to Fang Wu. The cultivation world is full of dangers, one cannot be too careful. One slight mistake, and you could capsize in the gutter. Jia Ren did not hesitate for a moment. He resolutely destroyed the spirit rice grain with the tracking mark, erasing all traces. Afterwards, he painstakingly checked everything twice more to ensure there were no mistakes before carefully putting away his spoils. Before the next trade meeting begins, I'll focus on cultivating in peace. He swallowed a spirit bud elixir, and the turtle spirit technique slowly circulated, transforming the elixir into thick tortoise spirit energy. Time passed in cultivation. Before he knew it, it was the 5th day, the time for the 4th trade meeting to begin. Should I inform Elder Wu that the trade meeting is unsafe? Jia Ren remembered the secret conversation between Qi Yulong and Fang Wu. He understood that after the 4th underground trade meeting concluded, the 5 Elements sect would swoop in to capture everyone. They would seize all the spirit stones from the loose cultivators. Those loose cultivators, having been squeezed dry of their spirit stones' value, would be rounded up by the 5 Elements sect to serve as cannon fodder on the battlefield, extracting their last bit of worth. Elder Wu was sure to be one of those taken to serve as cannon fodder if he attended the underground trade meeting. If that happened, Jia Ren's plan to acquire the Seeking Demon Talisman technique would fail. No matter what, I have to give it a try. Jia Ren didn't plan to risk himself. He decided to send the mosquito with a warning note. I'll regard it as an investment. Do what one can and leave the rest to fate. Whether Elder Wu is willing to believe it or not will depend on his own destiny. Trying might not yield results, but it's still much better than doing nothing. If Elder Wu can escape this disaster and owes me a life-saving favor, obtaining the Seeking Demon Talisman technique will be much easier. Go. Jia Ren confirmed there were no traces of his own scent or marks on the note that could be located by tracking spells. Only then did he send the mosquito off from the exit of his previous dwelling, delivering it to a conspicuous place at Elder Wu's residence. Having done all this, Jia Ren went to check on Elder Wu's underground chamber. Elder Wu was still feigning sleep with his eyes closed. Compared to a few days earlier, his essence, energy, and spirit seemed somewhat diminished. Jia Ren waited quietly, cultivating the turtle breath technique. I won't pass up any opportunity to improve myself. In a world replete with crises, only my own strength can be trusted. After waiting for 2 hours, Elder Wu left the underground chamber. He consumed the remainder of his meager spirit rice supply, conserved his strength, and readied himself to participate in the underground trade meeting. With no security measures at the trade meeting, maintaining peak combat readiness is essential to better handle any dangers that might arise. Otherwise, even if I manage to purchase spirit rice, it will be impossible to bring it back safely. Elder Wu had just returned to his stone house when he noticed a piece of paper on the stone table. It read, "The trade meeting is a trap. The Five Elements sect is approaching. Hide for a few days." Chapter 48, Catching Turtles in a Jar. Is the message true or false? Elder Wu hesitated for a moment but ultimately decided to flee. It's better to believe it's true than to risk it being false. In any case, safety comes first. The Five Elements sect treats loose cultivators who master the four arts of cultivation favorably. War is a contest not only of strength but also of resources. Although Elder Wu was a talisman master, his specialty, the demon spawn talisman, was of little use in the war between the two sects. His only value would be to serve as cannon fodder on the battlefield. Elder Wu didn't dare to attend the trade meet. He decisively packed up the few items in his underground chamber and made a run for it at the first opportunity. He's gone? Jia Ren watched Elder Wu hurry away, believing his warning had taken effect. Whether I'll be able to acquire his demon spawn talisman technique in the future will be up to fate. Time to go watch the show at the underground trade meet. Jia Ren left the tunnel where Elder Wu had been and headed to the underground trade meet. Just as the trade meet opened, a steady stream of loose cultivators arrived. In a short time, nearly 140 loose cultivators had gathered. Except for a few individuals like Feng Wu, the loose cultivators were all visibly emaciated. Magic artifacts and elixirs in exchange for spirit rice. Fellow Taoist, please, be so kind as to sell me a few pounds of spirit rice. The loose cultivators knew the chances of exchanging for spirit rice were slim but still clung to a thread of hope. The result was the same as last time, no trades were made. Everyone was short on food. No one could expect to get even a single grain of spirit rice from another loose cultivator. Are there any fellow Taoists who haven't arrived? Feng Wu's gaze swept through the crowd, tallying the numbers. Each arriving loose cultivator was an asset, the more of them, the better. Feng Wu did not find Jia Ren among the crowd. Since the second trade meet, Jia Ren seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. Feng Wu had secretly informed a few loose cultivators to report Jia Ren's location in exchange for a reward of 10 pounds of spirit rice. Quite a few had searched for days but found nothing. If Jia Ren doesn't show up at this trade meet, there will be no chance of capturing him in the future. Taoist Wu didn't come either? Elder Wu, master of the demon spawn talisman technique, was also a key target for Feng Wu. He had planned to starve Elder Wu for a while. When Elder Wu was at his wit's end, Feng Wu intended to trade spirit rice for the demon spawn talisman technique. He hoped to make one last profit before the Five Elements sect swept them all up. The four arts of cultivation were irresistibly tempting. Even if one didn't learn them, they could be resold for a high price. To his surprise, Elder Wu had also disappeared. Feng Wu felt frustrated, things had not been going well lately. Taoist Feng, may I ask how much spirit rice you plan to sell? Will it be sold in the usual manner? Numerous eager eyes were fixed on Feng Wu. This was the only channel through which they could acquire spirit rice. Although the price of spirit rice was steep, at least it was available for purchase. The more spirit rice that was sold, the greater their chances of survival. There will be a total of 1,000 pounds of spirit rice at this auction. Feng Wu announced. I understand the hardship of my fellow Taoists. Each of you can buy 4 pounds of spirit rice at the cost price of 6 fragmented spirit stones per pound. 1,000 pounds of spirit rice? That quantity is still too little. A cost price of 6 fragmented spirit stones per pound? 4 pounds of spirit rice per loose cultivator. For nearly 140 cultivators, that means the 1,000 pounds of spirit rice is almost 600 pounds short. The eyes of loose cultivators who had neither spirit rice nor spirit stones lit up with a glimmer of hope. Regardless, an extra 4 pounds of spirit rice offered a glimmer of hope for survival. Taoist Feng Wu is benevolent. 4 pounds per person is too little. Could it be increased to 7 pounds so everyone gets an equal share? Thank you, Taoist Feng Wu. I misunderstood you before. Compared to the previously tense atmosphere, the mood in the hall eased slightly. Everyone, please be quiet. Feng Wu gave a wry smile and sighed. I, too, wish that none of my fellow Taoists had to worry about a spirit rice shortage. Ever since the spirit rice from Grand Wilderness Mountain was burned, its price skyrocketed, and it became a prohibited item for sale. The Five Elements sect cultivators also need to earn spirit stones. Would they sell at cost price and take such risks? They won't conduct business at a loss. Without profit, the next trade meet won't have a single grain of spirit rice. Providing this much is already the limit of what I can do. I hope my fellow Taoists will understand. After the spirit rice, there will also be an auction for 30 fasting pills. First, every Taoist, please come and buy your rice. Fang Wu was well prepared, taking out bags of spirit rice weighing 4 pounds each, continuously exchanging them for spirit stones from the loose cultivators. Taoist Fang, you didn't discuss this matter with me. Qi Yulong's transmitted message rang in Fang Wu's ear, his voice filled with coldness. 6 fragmented spirit stones per pound of spirit rice was not the cost price, profits could still be doubled from that. Last time, spirit rice sold for an average of 4 spirit stones per pound. Compared to that, 6 fragmented spirit stones per pound this time represented a huge loss in potential earnings for Qi Yulong. Failing to earn the expected amount of spirit stones was considered a loss, so how could Qi Yulong not be angry? He had originally hoped to auction off 1,000 pounds of spirit rice for 4,000 spirit stones. If we still use the previous auction method, Taoist Qi, do you know what will happen? Fang Wu transmitted in reply. Loose cultivators who can't afford spirit rice will riot for it. In their extreme hunger, they would dare to do anything. I don't have the power to maintain order at the trade meet. Forget about auctioning spirit rice normally, you wouldn't make a single spirit stone, and the spirit rice would be stolen. Only by taking an initial loss to stabilize them can we then proceed to auction the spirit rice normally. Those loose cultivators who lack the means to participate in the auction still possessed spirit stones, just not enough to meet the auction requirements. By selling a portion at a low price, we can still extract the spirit stones they have. Rest assured, the spirit stones gathered from this auction won't be much less than anticipated. Qi Yulong stopped transmitting messages. Compared to Qi Yulong, Fang Wu was the more competent businessman, possessing a better grasp of the overall situation. Every loose cultivator had received some spirit rice. Although the amount was not large, it could at least sustain them for a few more days. We'll use the same method as last time for the auction, selling the spirit rice by the pound. Fang Wu declared. Having reaped rewards from the last spirit rice auction, how could he abandon the method that maximized profits? Taking out half the spirit rice was merely for stabilization. The remaining spirit rice would still be sold using the method that yielded the most spirit stones. The amount of spirit rice up for auction was less than last time, but the loose cultivators were far hungrier. Loose cultivators with larger reserves of spirit rice found them dwindling after such prolonged consumption, leaving them with very little. 4 pounds of spirit rice was not enough to alleviate their concerns about their dwindling supplies. The competition was bound to be fiercer than last time. 1 fragmented spirit stone per pound to start the auction. The loose cultivators, having learned their lesson from the previous auction, bid fiercely, and the price of spirit rice soared rapidly. The first auction pound of spirit rice sold for the high price of 4 spirit stones and 2 fragmented spirit stones. The remaining spirit rice, just like at the last auction, saw its price skyrocket. Driven by hunger, the competition for spirit rice was intense, and auction prices surpassed the previous limits. 6 spirit stones per pound. The remaining spirit rice was sold off quickly, like flowing water. The total sum surpassed the 2,000 spirit stones from the last auction, reaching 3,000 spirit stones. The loose cultivators' spirit stones had been mostly squeezed dry, so the fasting pills didn't fetch a high price at auction. The reason was simple, the loose cultivators' spirit stones had been completely drained. Time to close the net. Qi Yulong thought. As the fasting pills were being auctioned, Qi Yulong had already informed the 5 Elements sect cultivators. The auction had just concluded when a potent surge of spiritual power fluctuation erupted from behind them. The 5 Elements sect cultivators descended, blocking the sole exit of the underground trade meet, trapping them like turtles in a jar. Chapter 49, Grinding the Mill Killing the Donkey. How did the 5 Elements sect cultivators get here? Weren't they supposed to guarantee the trade meet's safety? Run. I don't want to be captured by the 5 Elements sect and dragged to the battlefield. The loose cultivators reacted to the sight of the 5 Elements sect cultivators like mice seeing a cat. Despite hiding until now, they ultimately couldn't escape the grasp of the 5 Elements sect. War was a meat grinder. Among the forcibly conscripted loose cultivators, those who returned alive were few and far between. Without spirit rice, they could barely survive, but on the battlefield, only a dead end awaited. How audacious! How long were you planning to hide? Send them all to the battlefield. Facing the elite of the 5 Elements sect, who were in peak condition and at the height of their power, the loose cultivators felt as desolate as mourners at a funeral. They wanted to run, but alas, their escape routes were cut off, and all hope was lost. How could the bottom-tier loose cultivators, who couldn't even feed themselves properly and whose combat strength was subpar, possibly be a match for the 5 Elements sect cultivators? The resisting loose cultivators were beaten until their heads bled, their wails unceasing. A few loose cultivators were made examples of, their hands and feet viciously slashed. If not for the fact that living people were more valuable, there would likely be several corpses lying on the ground. Bind. The Five Elements sect cultivators took out the prepared demon binding ropes, tied up all the loose cultivators at once, and placed spiritual power restraints on them. Only then did any possibility of escape vanish. Take them all away. The leading Five Elements sect cultivator waved his hand grandly, his spirits soaring. He bore a strong resemblance to Chi Yulong, about 70% similar, but his expression was even colder. Fang Wu, well done. Chi Yu stepped forward and patted Fang Wu's arm encouragingly. Hurry and release our great hero. Without him, how could we have captured so many loose cultivators? The restraints were lifted, but Fang Wu's face showed not the slightest hint of a smile. Is this supposed to be an honor? It's more like they're roasting me over a fire. The captured loose cultivators hated him to their very core. If they survived, they would undoubtedly use every means possible to exact revenge on him. Fang Wu, may you die a horrible death. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. You scammed us with overpriced spirit rice, bled us dry of our spirit stones, and now you're sending us to the battlefield. Fang Wu, you just wait. This debt of hatred will be repaid one day. The loose cultivators, unaware of the truth, vented all their fury on Fang Wu, oblivious that the Chi brothers were the true masterminds. Fang Wu was merely a shield the two had pushed to the forefront, a scapegoat. This is merely what I ought to do. Fang Wu said, forcing a smile more wretched than tears as he tried to curry favor. He didn't want to be sent to the battlefield with the other loose cultivators, so he had to suck up to Chi Yu in every conceivable way. This was the path he had chosen, he had to grit his teeth and see it through. Thank you, my fellow sect brothers, for your assistance. Take these fragmented spirit stones for some tea. Fang Wu offered. Although he called them fragmented spirit stones, Fang Wu actually took out over 1,000 spirit stones. Each of the assisting Five Elements sect cultivators received a share of 100 spirit stones. Then we won't stand on ceremony. They were all beneficiaries of this lucrative division of spoils. After all, relying on Chi Yulong, a single inner sect disciple, would not have kept the northern district stable for this long. These cultivators, on the other hand, avoided any blame while gaining both spirit stones and merits. Satisfied, the Five Elements sect cultivators departed, taking over 100 loose cultivators with them to report their success. Only Chi Yulong, and Fang Wu were left. Fang Wu, 3,400 spirit stones. That's much less than the 4,000 I expected. Shouldn't you cover the shortfall of 600 spirit stones? Chi Yulong gazed at Fang Wu with a smile, yet his eyes radiated a bone-chilling coldness. His gaze frequently swept over the storage bag at Fang Wu's waist, his intentions obvious. Squeezing every last bit of value out of someone before slaughtering them like a fattened sheep, that was Chi Yulong's standard practice. Fang Wu was well aware of Chi Yulong's character, but as the moment arrived, he couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Fortunately, he had come prepared. This is all I have left. If you two Taoist friends want it, then please, take it. Fang Wu handed over the storage bag without any attachment, quite readily. At least you know your place. When Chi Yulong's spiritual sense probed the storage bag, the smile vanished from his face, replaced by an expression as dark as deep water. Is Fang Wu trying to fool me? Why so few spirit stones? A scattering of fragmented spirit stones and spirit stones lay on the ground, totaling perhaps 100 or so. While 100 spirit stones was a considerable sum for an ordinary loose cultivator, it was beneath Chi Yulong's notice. He clearly remembered all the earnings Fang Wu had made, having mentally noted every spirit stone. Even if Fang Wu couldn't produce 1,000 spirit stones, he should have at least 700 or 800. Chi Yulong hadn't even planned to let the Shenxing Sanxiu's 200-odd spirit stones go, much less the far greater amount Fang Wu possessed. Chi Yulong had offered benefits to make Fang Wu work desperately for him. Once everything was concluded, he intended to reclaim everything, with interest. Then, he'd conveniently kill Fang Wu to prevent any future retaliation. Playing mind games with me? Chi Yulong searched Fang Wu's person but found no second storage bag. Is this all? Do I need to force you to tell me? His expression was as dark as stormy waters. The white jade sword hovered in midair, its tip a mere half-inch from Fang Wu's brow. The sword's brilliant aura pulsed at its tip, slicing Fang Wu's skin. Blood began to trickle down his forehead. With a single strike, I can kill you and then scour every inch of this place. I refuse to believe I won't find that hidden storage bag. As he spoke, his gaze remained locked on Fang Wu, as if trying to extract the answer from his very expression. Fang Wu allowed the blood to snake down his cheek. Reflected in the crimson drops, his expression looked exceptionally grim. Go ahead and search. If I die, you'll get nothing. Only by facing death head-on could one find a slim chance of survival. Given Qi Yulong's avarice, he would never let a large sum of spirit stones slip through his fingers. This was his only trump card for survival. "Brother, don't be impulsive." Qi Yu, who had been observing silently from the sidelines, finally spoke. "Taoist friend Fang Wu has been a great help to us. We can't treat him like this." Qi Yulong obediently retracted his flying sword. The two were twin brothers. Although Qi Yu was younger, his spiritual root aptitude was exceptional. His status and position as an inner sect disciple of the Five Elements sect placed him far above Qi Yulong. In the cultivation world, strength dictated everything. Don't think we've earned a lot of spirit stones. Most of it has to be used to bribe those above us to ensure our business runs smoothly. Yulong wants to become an inner sect disciple of the Five Elements sect, but there's currently a shortfall of over 700 spirit stones. That's why he's inevitably anxious. Yulong was rash. I apologize to you on his behalf. As long as you make up this spirit stone shortfall, I guarantee your entry into the inner city and will exempt you from conscription. Fang Wu, having seen the Qi brothers' true colors, remained unmoved. Honor your promise, and I'll tell you where the spirit stones are buried. Alternatively, you can search for it yourself and see if you can find it. Qi Yu looked at Fang Wu intently, finally memorizing his face. As you wish, I will take you into the inner city. If you dare deceive me, I'll make you pay dearly. It was difficult for loose cultivators to evade conscription, but for someone within the Five Elements sect, it was a different matter. Qi Yu had just performed a meritorious deed, so arranging this was a trivial matter for him. After a brief discussion, the three reached a mutually beneficial agreement. Jia Ren watched the spectacle calmly from beginning to end. One had to admit, Fang Wu was a resourceful man. By hiding that storage bag, he had ensured his own safety. Although he wasn't the biggest winner, he had managed to extricate himself from a dangerous situation. He had even secured entry into the inner city, thereby avoiding conscription. However, now that Jiren had taken that storage bag, unforeseen complications were bound to arise. With the loose cultivators of the northern district completely cleared out, a long period of tranquility should follow. In the near future, with fewer disturbances from Five Elements sect cultivators, I should be able to cultivate in peace. Chapter 50. Seeing the daylight again, the trade fair ended, and Jiren returned to seclusion for cultivation. The elixirs provided by Fang Wu were greatly beneficial, accelerating his cultivation progress rapidly. Within just a few days, all 25 spirit bud elixirs were consumed. Next, he began taking the Great Origin Pill. Both the Spirit Bud Elixir and the Great Origin Pill were suitable for cultivators at the mid-stage of Qi cultivation. The former had a milder effect and wider applicability. The effect of the Great Origin Pill surpassed that of the Spirit Bud Elixir, and so did its price. Under normal circumstances, the Pill Cauldron Pavilion sold them for 3 spirit stones each. Loose cultivators, looking to save where they could, mainly opted for the cheaper Spirit Bud Elixirs. After swallowing a Great Origin Pill, Jiren felt an overwhelmingly violent surge of spiritual power, its medicinal strength rampaging and damaging his meridians. If a cultivator's level was below the mid-stage of Qi cultivation, their body and meridians, even if strengthened by spiritual power, could not withstand the Great Origin Pill's medicinal power. Long-term use of the Great Origin Pill could also affect the meridians. The effect is indeed better than that of the Spirit Bud Elixir. 1 Great Origin Pill adds 7 points to cultivation progress. The effect is not bad. Without diminishing effects, consuming all 27 Great Origin Pills will add 189 points to my cultivation progress. Including the 101 points of cultivation progress from the Spirit Bud Elixirs, I'm getting closer to breaking through to the 6th layer of Qi refinement. The 6th layer of Qi refinement was not far from the late-stage Qi refining, which was another step closer to foundation establishment. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Jiren was calmly meditating when he suddenly heard a roar from outside. Fang Wu! How dare you deceive me? Has the wronged party came to my door? It has nothing to do with me. Feeling no guilt despite being the true culprit, Jiren ignored the noise outside. From the direction of Fang Wu's dwelling, there was also considerable commotion. Relentless vibrations came from underground, indicating the use of some kind of spell to search for the hidden storage bag. Just accept it. You won't be able to find it. Wrapped in rags, Jiren was not the least bit worried that his cultivation fluctuations might be detected. The scraps of cloth were what Fang Wu had used to hide the storage bag, and Jiren discovered they could mask spiritual power. Draped over his body, they effectively concealed any fluctuations in spiritual power. Fang Wu had dared to place the storage bag under the stone bed where Qi Yulong cultivated, relying on its remarkable effects. Now, it benefited Jiren. Utterly calm, Jiren picked up a Great Origin Pill and swallowed it, finding the elixir unexpectedly sweet. Ever since the Five Elements sect cultivators had cast their net, he had blocked the tunnel. No matter how deep Qi Yulong and his brother dug, they would never find his hidden spot. The commotion continued for almost a day, finally ceasing at high time. Feng Wu, I will kill you. The sounds of impotent rage faded, and the northern district returned to tranquility. Next, it should be dog eat dog among them. Sadly, I won't get to watch the show. Cultivation continued as usual, and 2 more days passed. Once a great origin pill was fully refined and the pain in his meridians became unbearable, Jia Ren finally understood the side effects of the great origin pill. That was why, despite the great origin pill being highly cost-effective, loose cultivators still preferred the spirit bud elixir. The pain in the meridians was torturous. If I continue to use great origin pills for a long time, my meridians won't be able to cope. I don't know how many days of rest will be needed for recovery. Taking advantage of a break in cultivation, Jia Ren practiced the wind control skill for 3 days, finally upgrading it to the Grandmaster limit. The wind control skill can break through now. Without hesitation, Jia Ren decisively added 1 skill breaking point to the wind control skill. In an instant, a deeper understanding of the wind control skill surged in his mind. Wind control skill, Great Grandmaster, 1 out of 3,200, it's not a good time to experiment with a wind control skill. Judging from the previous pattern, it probably yields about a 50% increase. With the Grandmaster level wind riding technique combined with the breeze robe, wouldn't that be 9 times as effective as the entry-level wind control skill? His environment was limited, preventing him from fully unleashing its power. Jia Ren did not wish to attract the Five Elements sect's attention just for the sake of experiencing the Grandmaster level wind riding technique. Is the sword control technique faster, or is the Grandmaster level wind riding technique quicker? There was no doubt that among Qi refining stage cultivators, his speed was top tier. Continuing to improve the wind control skill required not only proficiency level but also skill breaking points, so there was no chance for further advancement in the short term. I can focus my energy on other spells. The turtle breath technique had reached the Grandmaster level, and it was not far from the Grandmaster limit. In recent days, he had concentrated on the turtle breath technique, aiming to reach the Grandmaster level as soon as possible. On the 7th day, the mosquito responsible for surveilling Elder Wu's residence sent a warning: someone was in the stone house. Has Elder Wu returned? There's hope for the Seeking Demon Talisman technique yet. Excited, Jia Ren quickly stopped his cultivation and hurried to the 5th tunnel, where Elder Wu resided. After half a month, through the tunnel wormhole, he saw Elder Wu once again. Elder Wu no longer had the air of a lofty immortal. His hair was like straw, and he was so thin he was skin and bones. Most importantly, there was a faint evil aura about him. Jia Ren, wearing the worn cloth to hide his spiritual power fluctuation, was not worried about his spirit high technique probe being discovered. I never thought I'd die here. Elder Wu muttered. The underground trade meeting is gone. I can't buy an evil warding talisman. I'll have to make a trip to the Five Elements sect. Desperation filled Elder Wu's eyes, making him appear even older. He had came to the northern district to see if the underground trade meeting was still active and if he could buy an evil warding talisman. In the end, I couldn't escape it. After speaking, Elder Wu gave a wretched smile and shook his head as he left. The chances of surviving a trip to the Five Elements sect battlefield were extremely low, but it was still much better than waiting here for death. Jia Ren's expression changed as he considered whether to make a trade. He still had 6 evil warding talismans, so offering 1 or 2 would not be a problem. If he could exchange them for the Seeking Demon Talisman technique, that would be perfect. He had long yearned for the Seeking Demon Talisman technique. If he missed this opportunity, he did not know when he might learn talisman crafting. Danger? After his mosquitoes had swept the northern district, there were almost no traces of loose cultivators, perhaps just a few hiding very deeply. After the Five Elements sect cultivators captured those from the underground trade meeting, they had not wasted any more energy and had not returned. Elder Wu's cultivation level was at the 6th layer of Qi refinement, higher than Jia Ren's. However, Elder Wu's actual combat power and vital energy state were far inferior to Jia Ren's, so defeating him would not be difficult. If he needed to escape, his Grandmaster level wind riding technique would ensure his safety. Jia Ren sent out mosquitoes to confirm there was no danger nearby and decisively broke into the stone house of the female cultivator surnamed Wang. More than a month later, he finally left the tunnel and saw the light of day again. Mottled sunlight filtered through the cracks of the dilapidated stone house, falling on his face. Jia Ren covered his face with his hand, feeling extremely uncomfortable. Having been underground for a long period, away from sunlight, he needed time to adjust. His gaze fell upon a dressing bronze mirror, likely a relic of the female cultivator surnamed Wang. The dim surface of the mirror reflected a pale, bloodless young man, his hair and Taoist robe covered in dirt, looking unkempt and dirty. Jia Ren managed a grim smile. He had never been so wretched before. At least, I am alive. That was much better than the loose cultivators captured by the Five Elements sect to be used as cannon fodder. As long as a person is alive, there's hope. See that he gets this. Jia Ren wrote a note and had a mosquito deliver it to Elder Wu, to avoid Elder Wu having already left by the time Jia Ren could visit him. Meanwhile, he took the time to wash and groom himself. One must maintain dignity. It was not good to show others such a disheveled appearance. He gathered water, lit a fire to boil it, and then comfortably soaked in a hot bath. The hot water had to be changed 3 times before it was no longer excessively murky. After cleaning himself, he put on a dust-free breeze robe, groomed his beard, and reverted to the handsome young man he had been before. The only thing that had changed from a month ago was his poor complexion, giving him the look of someone just recovering from a serious illness. Once his eyes adjusted to the brightness, Jia Ren finally stepped out of the house. Chapter 51, Finally got a charm technique, please follow, Taoist. Jia? Elder Wu sat before a clean stone table, upon which lay 2 slips of paper with matching handwriting. His face showed surprise when he saw Jia Ren. Thank you, Taoist Jia, for the warning that saved my life. Jia Ren's whereabouts were a mystery, shrouded in secrecy. They had met only once at the second trade fair. Seasoned with experience, Elder Wu understood Jia Ren's intentions. I originally had no objections to teaching you the Seeking Demon Talisman technique, but I, Wu, have been infected by an evil energy and am too weak to help. He sighed deliberately, wanting to confirm if Jia Ren possessed an evil warding talisman. Jia Ren sat opposite him, a spirit shield and turtle prime spirit armor activating around his body, adopting a posture of caution and defense. Taoist Wu, can you tell me what happened after I left? As far as I know, all loose cultivators infected with the evil energy were forcefully conscripted by the Five Elements sect. There should be no risk of infection in the outer city. Why would you, a talisman maker, end up in such a plight? It's impossible that you had no evil warding talismans prepared. Jia Ren was not in a hurry to ask about the Seeking Demon Talisman technique. That would make Elder Wu think he was desperate, causing Jia Ren to lose the initiative in negotiations and allowing Elder Wu to drive a hard bargain. Even if he obtained the technique, the price would likely be steep,